everybody. Hello. Sorry that I am so late. Let me just bring up the chat. All right, guys. Hey, everybody. I'm going to wait for everybody to come in. All right. Okay, great. Oh, good. All right, people are already in here. Sorry I'm so late, you guys. Let me just make sure. Is it loud enough? Can you guys hear me well? You guys, hello, everybody. Hello. I'm going to turn this up. All right. All right, guys. Hey, so let me check in with the chat. So this is the GENSPECT. Did I just do that? Oh, this is the GENSPECT stream. And there's been a lot of confusion about what it is exactly I'm trying to do. So what I'm going to do is give you guys just a little explanation of what the purpose of this stream is, what the purpose of this event is, and then we'll go from there. So I have been, I'm a content creator, I'm a mother, and I got involved in this sort of, YouTube realm of activism and content creation by tapping into, established YouTubers. I found Magdalene Burns, which led to Exelanzic and Karen Davis. And so before I started my YouTube channel back in November, I watched a lot of other content creators and I was able to kind of keep up with everything that was going on. But I didn't realize just how deep the sort of community went, right? It was interesting. I'm like, oh, okay, these YouTubers know each other. They're streaming together. That's cool. Then I started to realize that, there were those connections. But I didn't realize just, that there's other niche communities on different message boards and different spaces. We have Spinster, we have Over It, we have Mumsnet, we have Kiwi Farms, Instagram, Radical Twitter, Getter now has been a new platform that people are using. There's Facebook groups, which I'm like banned from all of them. So, it's interesting just kind of how small this world actually is, of the sort of gender critical activism and all of that. And so once I started making content, I'm able to keep up with other content, but not nearly as much as I was able to before. And I do have a Getter account. I have an Instagram account. I don't really use Facebook for gender critical stuff, other than just like sharing, new videos or things like that. And I don't have time to really go on a lot of forums, but I've been like loosely following a lot of Karen Davis's work in regards to GenSpect. And from my position, and I don't want this, I'm going to really try to refrain from giving my opinions yet. From my position, a lot of it sounded logical, and I've even told this to her personally. I've even told her, I said, Dystopian Deep Dives, your voice sounds rough. Yeah, my voice is kind of a mess. Sorry, I hope you guys can understand me. So kind of tuning in and out, sometimes when I wasn't able to keep up with some of Karen Davis's work, I just wasn't I wasn't sure kind of where it was all tying in together. And I even told her, I said, it maybe even came off as a little nitpicky, and some of the titles were maybe dramatic. But then I tuned back in and I, did another deep dive of her work, and a lot of stuff was really connecting. When you sat down and listened to it, I'm like, okay, this makes sense now. I understand where her concerns are, and I think it's just hard to follow along. It's hard unless, you're able to keep up with, because it's an ongoing web of issues that it's hard to just, as a casual observer, just sort of jump in and understand everything that's happening, right? And I do think that it's to kind of come in casually and take a look around and seeing what's going on. It just looks like a bunch of drama, right? And I think that Karen Davis isn't doing work. She's undermining the mission. So I don't want to give my opinion. I'm going to really refrain from giving my opinion because the whole point of this stream is to learn more. It's to learn more because it just seems like, there's some community. I feel like we're creating echo chambers now. And, in some communities like on Getter, I understand the position of a lot of the feminists on Getter. But then it was like I discovered Mumsnet for the first time. I had never been on forums, and that's why I made that stream that I made. And I read through a bunch of their concerns, and I realized that there is a whole other perspective. And some people aren't very happy with some of the criticisms and some of the work that's being done. And then, GenSpeCT is in the middle, and then there's like the DSD's issue, and all this stuff that's sort of connected. And I was just wondering, it's like, how is it that for one issue, there can be so many different starkly opposing ideas? And what I also wanted to understand was not only that, but how is it not only is there such, opposition or difference of ideas, but it's like it's gotten so intense that women are being deplatformed, they're being doxxed. People are really, really getting like personally just invested in this. I even had another content creator who originally wanted to come on and speak today and then decided not to, and she didn't really say why, but I suspect it's just because of the, concern of this is almost becoming like a pick a side type thing. So I wanted to open this up. And then somebody, someone else said that they thought that this was like a PR event for GenSpeCT. I have no affiliation whatsoever with GenSpeCT. I have nothing to gain from supporting GenSpeCT. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to post the number for people to start calling in a minute. I just want to be clear. I've always said that my mission, first, I have there's kind of two missions here. It's protecting women, protecting, women's single-sex spaces, women to be free from harm, women to, be housed safely and with dignity, in locker rooms, in prisons, in summer camps for girls, and to protect children and to safeguard children from making life-altering decisions. And those are my two, that's why I'm here. And on the one hand, I have such a respect and a gratitude and an allegiance for the women who are, using their face and they are speaking out on behalf of women, and they're putting their reputations on the line. They're putting their privacy on the line. I have a great deal of respect for these women. I consider them my colleagues, my sisters in arms, my comrades. Some of them have even become my friends. At the same time, my allegiance is also with parents, with the people on the front line of this gender war, with the people actually in the trenches of it. I don't have a gender questioning child. I don't have a gender dysphoric child. I'm not a trans widow. I don't have a husband who I catch trying on my panties. I'm not a mother whose daughter started binding behind my back, who's getting messages from school, or a son who's getting messages from school that, because he's effeminate, that maybe he's a girl and maybe he's medicalized. I'm not going through that. So I can't speak what that's like. I'm trying, but it is my job to also listen, because these are the people whose lives, who got thrown into this whole debate, who didn't ask for this. This piqued my interest because it just seemed to impact so many things that are important to me with feminism and women and girls and parenting and motherhood and vulnerable boys and the mentally ill. I chose to be a part of this conversation. There are so many women and families and individuals here who didn't choose to be in this, who don't want to be an activist, who don't want to crusade for something, who just want to save their kids, right? Who didn't ask for their husband to come out to friends and family and say that he's now the mother of my children. So, I want to be really mindful of those people because those people haven't built platforms. They don't have time to create YouTube content. They're just, and it must be confusing and scary and overwhelming when there's people that you thought like you could trust who seemed like a better option. Maybe they looked at GENSPECT as like, okay, great. This is better than the affirmative care models that I've been seeing. And it kind of gives me this, middle ground that I think a lot of parents think that they need to search for, especially when dealing with a child who's so gung-ho about this. And then getting all these other conflicting messages. I just see these parents are so trapped in the middle with a million different messages. Everyone's pulling them in different directions and it's these terrifying feelings. And so I want to just put us in conversation with each other because I do believe Karen's doing good work. Okay? I do think that there's also some things that are being missed about how to lead parents from here. So I don't want to give any more of myself. All right. So the person, I'm just going to quick email this. If anybody wants to join, so I had a couple people who kind of got, I think, pulled out of doing the Zoom. But if anybody wants to be on the Zoom panel, I have a couple people, but if anybody wants to add themselves to the Zoom panel, send me an email right now to aslightlytwistedfemale@gmail.com. And I can send you the link. And just give me, let me know just kind of who you are and why this is important to you. Let me send, hold on for 1 second. Okay. And then, so Tilly, I'm sending you the meeting ID right now. All right, and the way that this is going to work is I'm going to password. I set up a phone line. So I'm going to just try to keep each comment to just a couple minutes. So maybe 5 minutes or something. And you don't have to tell me, you don't have to give your real name. But do let us know, kind of who you are, just in the sense of, you're a parent, or you're just a concerned citizen, or your brother is tuning out, or whatever. Let me just send this. And then we'll go from there. All right, so I'm going to put in the chat the, hey, Vanessa. Hey, guys, and thanks for being here. Trinity on Fire. Soapy Deep Dies. Abel Garcia. Teeps. Broken Angel. Hey, guys. Dystopian Deep Dive said, Karen called me a man because I didn't agree with her in a comment section. Made a defamatory video and refused to take it down. She's abusive. Yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of that going on everywhere. There's a lot, in both sides. There's some really, really, and apparently, and I just want to also mention Exelanzic. I haven't seen it, but apparently got a death threat. That's not okay. I've seen that people have been doxing her, have been calling for her to be fired. People are going after each other's personal lives and private lives for having the wrong ideas. Then that's scary, and that's insane, and that needs to stop. It needs to stop. It's not okay. You can vehemently disagree with people, but to go after people's private lives, to try to spread their information around, dig up old photos, get a fucking grip. Everybody. And this isn't this is anybody who's engaging in that sort of behavior, get a grip. Because people are afraid to come forward. Women are afraid to make content now. Because of all, this is really heating up and it's getting psychotic. Women are afraid to ask questions or speak out, and on both sides. Like, even like Dystopian Deep Dive said, she asked a question and then a whole hardcore video got made about her. And it's just, we've got to get a grip. We've got to stop acting like fucking, we can't start getting insane. That's how we got here, was to terrorize people from asking questions. All right, so someone just asked, all right, here. So I'm going to send you right now to the person who just emailed me. I'm going to give you I'm going to let you call in. You can be the first person to call in. You can choose to either call in or you can come to the Zoom. I'll send you both. And eventually I'm just going to post it so people can just start all, calling in. But just try not to, have to put you on hold, obviously, if somebody's already on the line. And sorry, guys. Sorry if this is like a bootleg way to do it. I'm just trying to, rig together a good way to make this happen. Maybe there's a more effective way, but I'm just trying to. Okay. All right, let me double check my Zoom. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. Okay, so the Zoom is still up. All right. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to put the phone number up, and you guys can just start calling in. Like I said, don't abuse it. I'll hang up on you if you get weird. But I want to hear from all perspectives. You don't need to please me. I don't want anybody to try to tailor their message because you're speaking to me, or tailor your message because you're on my stream, or tailor your message because I'm friends with somebody, or because I've said something before, or whatever. I want you to just be honest. And if you need to be anonymous, be anonymous. Please do not use abusive language. Do not use misogynist language. Do not dox anybody on my fucking stream. I'm telling you now, don't do it. Don't fucking do it. Let's be civilized. Fuck. Sorry. Hold on.
Ready to start?
I gotta get to all right, I'm gonna post it right now. Oh. Can anybody be a moderator of the chat? Can anybody be a moderator of the chat and just basically approve messages? And just mind for anybody who's VF, I'm just making you one. Sorry, you don't have a choice. Okay. Oh, Dystopian, I'll make you one too. All right, you guys both get wrenches. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, I'm posting it now. Okay, Google. All right, and I don't know if this is gonna work. I haven't done this before, so let's try it. All right. So here's the Google number. So it's just like a first come, first serve. Here we go. All right, and now I'm going to pin it. Vanessa's in here, right? Vanessa, how do I pin messages like on the chat? You know how you made it so it comes up on the screen? Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to put, I hold on, I just pinned the wrong thing. Here we go. Trying to pin mine. Oh, here, okay. All right. Okay. All right, someone try calling. Someone help. Dystopian. Listen, I don't want this to engender more fighting. I want this to just make statements, straightforward statements. If we can criticize people, but let's do it respectfully. Let's do it in a way that they can respond to. That's not gonna create more, bullshit. So if anybody wants to call in, now's the time. My line is open. Don't be shy. Just be. I don't even have to know that it's you, right? Melissa here just says I'm shy. And all right, well, while I'm waiting for one of you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna read from GenSpect. So one of you needs to ovary up. I don't want to say ball up because balls are weak, ovaries are strong. Needs to. You guys listen, okay? It's not as scary as it seems, and sometimes you just gotta be brave. Dystopian deep dive. Let's see. Listen, I mean, no, you can bring up whatever you want to bring up. Like we've got to stop shutting each other up. Let's see. All right, so I'm just gonna read from GenSpect till one of you guys wants to call in. GenSpect isn't. Oh, here we go. We got our first caller. Such a dork. All right. Hello.
Judy B. To accept, press 1.
Oh,
to
wait.
send a voicemail, press 2.
Oh, whoops. Okay, there we go. Hello.
Hey, Brittany.
Hey. All right. I'm going to see. Let me just double check and make sure that everyone can hear you, okay? You're literally the first person. All right. Say something real quick.
Hi, this is Judy C.
All right. Can you guys hear her chat? Dun, 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 dun. Can you guys hear her? I think so. We'll just go with yes. All right.
Okay.
So what would you like to... Oh, Teeps is waiting on Zoom. All right, Teeps, I'll come to you next. All right, everybody. This is Judy C. calling in, and you now have the floor. What would you like to make a comment about?
I just wanted to say that, I'm relatively new to all this GC stuff. I think the Laurel Hubbard Olympic thing piqued me. Or at least it got me started, looking into why this was happening. And also one of my friends has a son that's 16, and over the summer, he came out as trans. He's a boy, now calling himself a lesbian. He went homecoming queen. And it just set me on a path of, trying to figure out what the hell is going on, because I know other people that have daughters that are transing, and I have a son who's 15 and a half, and I'm kind of just like, what the hell is going on? So I started reading the books, and, I have, I'm sporting it here at home. I've read other books, Irreversible Damage, and it just kind of set me in this search for answers. And I found your channel, I found Karen's channel, I found Excellence's channel, I found Kelly J's channel, I found Glinner's channel, and I also found dystopian deep dives, and just trying to listen and pick through. Also, Alex's and Joey, and yeah, there's just a lot of voices out there, and I think there's a lot of subversive people also out there that are trying to steer the narrative away from what's really happening, that women's rights are being trampled on, and this is a women's rights issue. And I'm just glad that there are women that are talking about it, because I feel like I've been going crazy. I feel like I can't talk about this stuff. I live in an area that's really liberal, and I've been like a liberal Democrat all my life, and now I'm like, I can't identify that way anymore. I cannot do it. Biden signed our rights away. I just can't, and nobody knew. Nobody knows. I feel like nobody knows what's really happening, and I'm just so tired of walking around being gaslit every day. That's really all I have to say, Brittany.
No, Judy, thank you so much. And you know what? I just feel like your story is so I feel like there's probably 100 people listening right now who are just shaking their head saying, yep, exactly. Like, and I think it's, what are your feelings on, and to what extent do you understand what's going on with this whole like gender critical fracture? It seems like on the one side, the way that I've described it, and this is just my own take, is on the one side, there's just gender critical. And then on the other side, it seems like there's gender critical feminists. And it seems like on the gender critical side, with GenSpect, you have some of like just the more attempting to find like a moderate take, a middle ground,
Mm-hmm.
and in some ways it makes sense. And I understand because some parents are dealing with kids who are fully bought into
Mm-hmm.
this and it can't
Mm-hmm.
come on too strong or seem turfy.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other end, it's like, is there a middle ground? Or or do we just need to abolish this thing?
I don't. That's a problem. I think it's kind of. I hate to say this, but I feel like the genie's out of the bottle. We're already allowing this to happen to children, and they have fully bought into it. When I said to my friend when she told me that her son trans, and they let him change his name at school, and he, was dressing as a girl and telling his girlfriend that she's a lesbian.
Jesus Christ.
I said to her, are you going to bring me therapy? And she literally didn't miss a beat and said to me, that's boomer thinking. Nobody thinks like that anymore.
Right.
And I just thought, holy shit. If that was my kid, I would rip him out of school so fast and move out to the fucking woods 200 miles away, get him off the internet, and find help. I mean, it's like textbook AGP. He was the fucking homecoming queen. What is that?
It's so
and
wrong.
The whole Leah Thomas thing, I think Leah Thomas is probably on the autism spectrum, and just is being used. I think he's being used, and it's really shameful that his parents are allowing him to be used like this.
Well, that's
he's
what.
Being used.
That's what.
I mean, he's getting all this hate, and I don't hate him. I am really upset with Biden, the NCAA, the IOC. What the fuck? We're just supposed to sit back and watch women take our medals? I mean, I'm sorry, men who think they're women?
No, and I don't like that he's being. I think that he's being scapegoated very hard, and I think that the people who are truly responsible for making this happen get to kind of slither away under anonymity.
Exactly.
And this kid, he's a kid. He's really a kid. He's a young man, and if he is on the autism spectrum, putting the full weight of the responsibility on him is also a travesty. You people allowed this. He didn't have the power to make this happen. He didn't bulldoze his way onto the team. You guys ushered him through.
Right. The grown-ups let this happen. Now the kids think it's okay because the grown-ups let this happen. And we're telling them it's okay. And then we're telling them therapy, you don't need therapy. It's fine. It's totally fine. Your delusion is completely fine.
And that's...
I don't understand how people could not see it is a body dysmorphia of some type. And we don't say to anorexics, you're fat, get liposuction, and here's some diet pills. How is it any different?
The problem is, though, and it's like you're right. On the one hand, it's like we allowed this and we, did this to the kids. But then it's like I feel like that's where the parents are in such a difficult bind. Because on the one hand, the gender critical side is we're saying, well, just tell your kid, no, this is ridiculous. And then on the other hand, you have people literally telling your child, oh, if your parents don't get it, then don't worry. We'll give you resources that you can discreetly contact and teach you how to kind of stand up to your parent. And they're getting all this pushback.
Give you the script to say so that you get your hormones. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean it's horrible because the parents really what can they do?
Right.
I mean they're told that we're the ones who have the incorrect thinking. that we're the ones that aren't getting it, that aren't seeing 2 + 2 = 5. You know.
Well, Judy, thank you so much for
calling.
I was just saying, it looks like somebody's well, they just hung up.
It was great talking to you, Brittany.
Judy, I appreciate you so much. And what a down to earth take. And I think that, like I said, I guarantee you everybody's listening and has such a similar peaking story. So thank you so much for being brave and being the first one to call in. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, Britt.
See you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
All right. Whoever just called, call back. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to I'll do a 5-minute, maybe I'll make it like 7 minutes. 7-minute comments. That's reasonable, right? Here, I know. We have Terry. Sorry, Terry. All right, let me let you in. Okay. All right. Here, we're going to hear from Terry from a minute. Hey. Oh, great. Let me make sure here. Let me get the Zoom screen on. Hold on for 1 second. 1 second. Let me get you on here. Window capture. Hold on for 1 second, Terry. Here we go. Hold on. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to get you. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Okay. Zoom. Here we go. Zoom meeting. Okay. Damn. No, Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm just trying to get your video. All right. Whoever's calling, you're gonna have to call back in 1 minute. Damn it! I'm trying to see why I can't see you on here. Sorry. Let me. Damn. Why is this not?
We could just talk.
Okay, so you don't. All right, that's fine. You find out.
I don't mind not being on screen. It's easier that way.
Okay. All right, Terry. Thank you so much for calling in. What would you like to comment about?
I'm calling in from the UK. I'm involved in a group of therapists who are trying to challenge the government, who are bringing in conversion therapy bills that will prevent us from doing exploratory work with gender and non-conforming children. And I know Stella quite well. She's part of our group. Stella O'Malley is one of the people that founded GENSPECT, I think the person that founded GENSPECT. And I have a great deal of respect for her, and I feel very upset about the criticisms that GENSPECT are receiving from left, right and centre, from people who really don't understand what they're trying to do. I've heard some of the criticisms. There's claims that they're funded by big multinationals and all the rest of it. They don't have any funding. They're working voluntarily themselves. They don't have any funding. As far as the issues that people are talking about in terms of them associating with paedophiles, some of the people that they have brought on board are people who have transitioned themselves. Yes, some of them have a history, don't we all? But the thing is, what you have to understand is that GENSPECT isn't a political campaigning body. They're a frontline service for parents and children, and they get approached by absolutely desperate parents. Now, if a desperate parent wanted their child to come off heroin, the likelihood that it is that the project they would go to would have therapists and counsellors who had a history of having drug problems themselves. Similarly, if you have projects that are set up to try and help with knife crime, let's say, often you have ex-gang members who are involved in those projects. That's the only way you can draw in people who have that problem, is if the people involved in the project have had that problem themselves and have had some personal experience of going through it. So, the criticisms are really silly, because you have to understand, when a parent has a child with gender issues, and they are determined that they're going to make medical changes to their body. It's absolutely terrifying for that parent. I've spoken to several of them myself, and they are absolutely at their wits' end. Now, Stella started GenSpect in response to lots and lots of parents contacting her about their child. She started it, first of all, just by running support groups locally to where she's based for parents, and it grew and grew. And there clearly was an international need for some kind of overarching umbrella organisation. So, good on her. She pulled it together and created the organisation and the website, and has done some sterling work. They did a great conference on ROGD a couple of months ago, and then they did one on detransition last weekend. Both really good conferences. I just feel really upset that the gender critical movement seems to be tearing itself apart. It's really crazy, and we're not really helping each other if all we can do is bitch and criticize.
Right. Terry, I really appreciate your, and then this is exactly why I called this together, because I think the nature of the internet is that it pushes us towards more like-minded people, or people who already kind of share our views on things, and then we just start echoing things back to each other, and it kind of just turns into these little clusters that are having, now it's like an us versus them sort of thing. And it's like, I want to just break down some of these fourth walls and understand. Because when I went on to Mumsnet, it was like a whole different conversation was happening where they're almost watching a whole different movie, but we're watching the same movie. I'm like, how are we watching the same movie and all having such different conclusions? And maybe there's really something that I'm missing here.
Well, I don't know. I haven't been on Mumsnet, so I'm not sure what the conversations are that are going on there. But it's basic group dynamics. What's happening in the GC movement? Any movement that begins, you will have some people who are absolutists on the, absolute, they won't ever do this, they will always do that on one end of the spectrum, and you have the more moderates at the other end of the spectrum, and they all serve a purpose, and they all have a place in that ecosystem.
Right.
You have the strong, adamant ones like Kelly J. Keane and people like that who will never, ever say the word trans woman, for example.
Right.
And you have people on the other end of the spectrum, perhaps more like GenSpect, who have to, in order to engage young people, they have to be more moderate.
Right.
They have to include trans people in their organisation. Otherwise, the young people wouldn't approach them.
Right.
I had a parent call me a while ago, and her son was needing some therapy, and I suggested a few different people to her because I didn't feel I was able to work with this person myself, who was extremely complex, autistic. And I knew people that worked specifically with autism, so I suggested them. But, the son went and talked to his trans friends, and they said, don't go near that person because they are anti-trans. So, you have to be able to demonstrate through your publicity and your profiling that you're not anti-trans. Otherwise, kids won't go near you.
Right. I mean, they hear the word gender critical, they hear, and they're being taught what to look for, which language to look for too. And I've gotten a lot of actually criticism for in my titles, I'll use the word trans woman, or I'll use basically TRA language because I know I want to get people who are just kind of moderate and who can be persuaded. There's some people who will never, who are so bought in, so committed for whatever reason, who will overlook, any sort of fugue or any sort of cognitive dissonance and really dig their heels in. I want the more moderate people, or people who could possibly be swayed, but I know that a lot of people, if they see something that looks like turf language, they're not even going to click on the video. And that's a very, I guess, and I realize that's a similar strategy that, and with dealing with children is a whole lot more sensitive than a YouTuber trying to
Exactly.
get someone to click on my video. It's trying to
Mm-hmm.
get a kid to come into the
Mm-hmm.
therapy session, you know?
Exactly. And so to some extent, you have to put your own political ideologies to one side and do what appeals to kids, because they ain't going to come to you otherwise. You know, you have to do something that's going to attract kids so that there is a chance that they can have a place where they can really think about what's going on, and really explore that in a safe environment where they don't feel threatened by people trying to turn them into cis people, for example. You know, they need to be able to feel safe and not judged and not pushed in either direction in order for them to begin to explore things at a deeper level.
Right.
And that's what GENSPECT are trying to do. So, you know, it's just unfortunate that the GC movement is going through this process, but it is inevitable in any movement. You know, you look at any organization, you will all come together in a flurry of excitement and hope and determination, and then you will split into your subgroups, and then the subgroups start fighting with each other. But we need to find a way to overcome that, and I'm really glad you're doing this today, because I think this is an attempt to try and overcome that and explore some of what's going on underneath the surface, and hopefully try and help people to understand that we are different from each other within this movement. There are differences, and there has to be, because we all are forming different functions. You know, some people are fighting specifically for single sex spaces, other people are, it's about sports, other people it's about preventing children from being transed.
Right.
Now, each has to have a different approach to the subject, I think, and we can't criticize each other for having those different approaches.
Right. Right.
Not helpful.
Well, I really, yeah, I think that's, I think that's what it comes down to, is understanding why a moderate take needs to happen. But like you said, I think that everybody does have an important thing. And I think one thing that you mentioned is what Stella O'Malley tapped into was the fact that there really is such a need for this. And that's why this took off the way that it did, and why it now has an international presence, even just if it's just even through the internet. And I think, just to play devil's advocate, I think that, because it's like, again, I feel like I really started to understand kind of like the other side, like your side of what you're talking about. And I think, to play devil's advocate of that a little bit too, I think if this does have the potential to become a very influential organization, I mean, it is attracting notable people, well known people. It's getting more and more support. It is going from just being a local, parent community, to now it's becoming a bigger thing. And I think, I do also understand the desire to really be cautious about the foundation that gets laid and exactly how it gets laid. Because I think that was the mistake, even just with this whole trans thing in the beginning, things that just seem small and niche in the beginning. It's like, well, because that became the language and it was allowed to just sort of proliferate that without being assessed with a critical eye, it became such a bigger thing, and it was so much harder to wrangle it in after it grew.
Yeah, but the thing is, nobody wants to put their money where their mouth is and start something themselves, do they? They just want to criticize other people in their attempts. Now, can't people just trust that people like Stella, who know what they're doing, have been doing this for years, have researched it at a very deep level, have worked with kids around bullying issues in the past, has gone on to working with gender issues. You know, she's been doing this a long time. Can't people trust that those who are doing this job know how an organization needs to be structured in order to attract the children that they're trying to appeal to?
Right.
They know what they're doing. You know, they get plenty of attacks, all of us do, from the TRAs. We don't need them from within our own movement as well.
Right.
Really, people have to just get behind it and trust that they have the best interests at heart of the kids they're trying to help. That's the bottom line.
Right. Well, Terry, I really appreciate your input on this. And like I said, this is really, really what I wanted. And I wanted to hear from people like you. I want to hear from people, who do have who are support just from every angle of this. And
Mm,
it's so, like I said, it's so easy to get trapped in our own echo chambers and to lose sight of how dimensional of an issue this is. It's
yeah,
not a one-dimensional thing. If it was, we would have been able to solve it by now. This is why we're having to attack it from so many
exactly.
different angles.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, thanks for having me on.
thank you so much. I really appreciate you calling in. Thanks so much, Terry.
Take care.
Talk to you soon.
Bye
You
now.
too. All right, guys. All right. Let's see. Does anybody want to? If I'm gonna also put up, I'm gonna change the. Hold on. Let me move this. Okay, here we go. We got somebody else. Is my sound okay, guys? I realized that my sound was like really loud at one point, so I turned it down.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Hey. how
Hey,
how would you like to introduce yourself?
I guess I'll be Barry Van Victoria McGee.
Thank you so much for calling in. Hold on, let me just make sure, my phone is not that loud. If you could just make sure you speak up a little bit. My phone's not super loud.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, let me just check the chat. Everybody does the sound okay? The audio's a bit low. Okay, I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. All right, is that better, guys? At one point it was like way in the red zone. Hopefully, let's see. Okay. All right, what would you like to comment on?
I just can't believe what is happening. It's unreal. And one question that I feel like nobody is answering on the other side is, okay, what the hell is a woman? And it's like crickets. And if we even ask the effing question, we're bigots. We're what parallel to racist is such bullshit. And the thing that boggles my mind the most is the women. It's like other women are doing these diabolical men's jobs for them by shitting on us for asking simple questions and stating, inconsistencies and things that are not logical. God, I could go on and on. There's so much hate from other women that buy into this ideology, and in some ways, I feel like they are the biggest betrayers. And I try to understand these people, but I just can't.
And you're talking, just to clarify, you're talking about trans rights activists, correct?
Yeah, it's like other women, biological women, are doing the men's job by fucking erasing other women, essentially, and shutting us down. I can't take it anymore. And I can't take the semantics, like the feigning ignorance. Like, oh, what is a woman? And you're like, the fucking person that gave birth to you.
Right.
Oh, well, if a person can't give birth, they're not a woman. It's like, shut the fuck up.
I know.
It's like we all know what it is.
Right.
Playing this game.
And it's all meant to confuse. Whoever's calling, hold on for 1 second. Whoever's calling, just wait. Okay, you call back in like a minute. It's a shame because I don't have like a waiting. I need to get like a waiting way to make people wait. Yeah, no, it is. And that's why language is so important. And they try to confuse with language. And that's also another reason why, and I like cautiously mentioned the DSD thing. I don't know if you paid attention to that whole argument.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think that
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the parallel. DSD and intersex conditions are not trans. So
no, they're not. But and I just want to make my point to clarify. the reason why that conversation was being had is the fact that, women have been cornered into having to have a very concise, clear definition for sex and male and female. And so, and it is a shame that this whole thing, and I do think a lot of the humanity was lost and all of that. And no, you're absolutely right. They're not the same and it's not fair. And they were, used in ways that they did not want to be used. But that's, in just with sympathy and empathy to the feminists who felt that they had to respond to that issue. The reason is because of all the convoluted circular talking and the being cornered into the need to have very strict, clear definitions. But well, thank you so much. Is there any last comment you want to make?
I would say that what I've discovered through my deep dive is that this is way more diabolical than women realize. They are essentially tricking females into giving up their wombs to experiment on. And why are people not saying anything about this?
Yeah.
And these trans identified females that are trying to become men are kind of just putting themselves on this assembly line for experimentation. I mean, not only women, but I mean also males as well. But there's a reason why they are so easily giving these women hysterectomies and taking out their reproductive organs.
Right.
I'm sorry, diabolical D, but I don't know, had to say something to the women.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate your comment. Thanks so much.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Sorry, guys. All right. So, whoever can call, I can call. I wonder if I can call. I wonder if there's a way to call from. Here we go. Hello.
Margot.
Margot.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
Hello, you are now live on the air. How are you?
Oh my gosh, it's good to talk to you.
Hey, thanks so much for calling in. Who am I talking to?
This is Margot calling from California.
Hey, Margot.
And I just want to tell you I love you so much, and I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And Vanessa, and my God, I have to tell you, I reached out to you in your comments after we lost Exalanzic's channel, and that was like a gut punch for me. And all of you women are like on the front lines,
Oh my God.
And it is terrifying to speak. It is terrifying to speak. And Kelly J and everybody, over this past year and a half, as I've become peaked about this, having you all out there on the front lines, please know like how deeply you are appreciated.
Thank you.
And you're out there taking so much crap, and it is terrifying to speak about this in our circles. Like, I'm in California. I'm freaking surrounded by it all the time.
Oh God, I know.
And the way it just crept in while everybody was sleeping and focused on other things, and now all of a sudden, I have an 18-year-old daughter, and some of her friends, one of her friends just had a double mastectomy.
Wow.
And because she's non-binary. I mean, what the I don't even know what that means, and
can I ask what your I was just gonna say, can I ask what your child's just take is on that, how they feel about what their friend did?
Well, she actually was one of the few people who kind of said, partly because I've been on this journey for the past year and a half, and she's now expressed to me, my daughter has expressed to me that she's grateful that I have certainly at least found my voice with her, to say, but you get that trans women aren't women, right? Like, that you get, like, because we're grounded in science and reality in our household, and like that was really, really helpful for us. And it was kind of all around her, but at any rate, her take to her friend was just to kind of ask, oh, how come, kind of, and it was kind of like a shrugging response, like, oh, I didn't really need him.
Wow.
And it's like, what? Like, and I have another one of her friends who, someone we know in our community who's a little older, who recently, who identified a while ago as non-binary, and recently, got married and had a kid, and and I'm just thinking, like, God, I wonder if I can reach out to her and say, you're nursing your baby now, like,
right.
Imagine if, right? Like, you're nursing your baby. Like, for me, like, it's the sexualization of children. It's the not representing to them the truth about what our bodies, like the power in female bodies, right? And for me, like, when I was, part of why it moves me so much is, like, I know in my bones, if I was growing up at a different time, I could have been one of them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if I was growing up at this time, I could have been one of them. I was, my father was abusive. Like, I had a really uneasy relationship with masculine and feminine when I was very gender nonconforming, and I could have been put down a path. Do you know what I mean? Like, I absolutely could have been put down a path. And for me, like, I don't feel like I fully came into my power as a woman until I had my daughter. When I was these kids' age, I didn't think I was ever going to have kids.
Right.
And like, I didn't think I was ever going to have kids. And like, and
most people that age can't see that far into the future.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, you're absolutely most kids that age can't see that far into the future. That was like what Aaron Brewer was saying. Like, I would have never thought that I wanted this. I always said, no, I don't want kids. And now I have this beautiful family. My God, if that had been taken away from me.
Right. And like, and like nursing my daughter, like, and feeling connected to, like, my mother, who's, passed a while ago, like, feeling connected to her through that, feeling connected, going back to all the mothers.
Like, womankind.
There's a way in which it grounds you and connects you, to the creative power of womanhood, right? Like, to the creation. And anyway, so I, originally always wanted to be, like, so tolerant and understanding of the kids, and like, I came at it from being very active in the gay rights movement when I was young, right? Not that I'm gay, but a lot of people around me were, right? And, it's just interesting. I mean, I know you have plenty of people who want to talk, but I just wanted to say how much I appreciated you. I'll share one thing that a lesbian told me when I was a teenager working on Heritage of Pride in New York City and the big gay pride march. Drag was a really big thing then. And everybody would call the drag queen she. But this one particular self-identified dyke never said she about any of the drag queens. And she said, in a way that my teenage brain understood, she said, they're putting on the masquerade of femininity. That's not a woman. And it was so freaking clear to me, right? Like, that this Harley riding lesbian just, like, mic dropped on me like that, and it stayed with me, right? So that's one of the fact that was in my brain as some of this more and more of this stuff came up, right? So that was still in there. And I guess what's important is that people not be scared. Like, I really relate to Kelly J, like, and people of I think you're a little younger than us, but, like, people of our generation who have, pretty much grown kids, right? And we really need to find our voices, and we really need to keep telling these kids what reality is, the fact that they don't know themselves yet. I think Egg Zelandzic says, like, you deserve to meet yourself. You deserve to have a chance to grow up and get to know yourself. And if we know that brains aren't done developing till they're in their mid-20s, how in God's name can we be letting this happen? how in the name of science can we believe this happen, you know?
Right.
Anyway, I'll let you go because I know there's plenty of other people who want to speak, but I just want to tell you I appreciate you so much.
Oh, Margot,
Hi to
thank
Vanessa.
you.
Thank you so much for putting the pronoun song in the end of one of your videos because I missed it.
No, isn't she the best? I know. I used to play that. I played that song like every day for a while.
Yeah, no, I sang it the other day. I sang it several times. Like I found it at the end of your video and just sang it to myself several times, sang along with it several times, crying because I was just like, I just appreciate you guys so much. I love you, women. I love you all.
We love you too. We appreciate you.
And I just want to say, like, we do all have our place in this. And I want to say, Karen Davis said something on one video when people started talking about birthing bodies and all that stuff. She said a thing on one of her videos that was, F that into the ground until it turns to powder. And I was just like, I took a deep breath and I was like, yes.
Oh my God. I feel like Karen is so like quotable.
Well, I like Kelly too, like with her stuff where she's just like, no, I'm not doing it, you know. And it's important. Everybody's voice is important, you know. And like Aaron in tears in front of the Senate, like all of it. All of it.
God, I know that one.
All of it. I love you all. I love you all.
Thank you so much, Margot. Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
And then we wouldn't have these platforms if it weren't for you guys. So we appreciate you right back. Thank you so much. Take care.
Love you.
Love you more. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, you guys. Okay, you know what I just realized? I was like, people in the UK can't call in. Duh. I'm like a dummy. I'm gonna go ahead and post the you guys make sure that you're also okay. I'm gonna go ahead and post I'm gonna go ahead. I'm also gonna post the Zoom. So if anybody from like the UK wants to join the Zoom, so I'm gonna do the Google Voice. So let's see. The phone number is I'm gonna do the phone number and the Google Voice. Okay. You guys, no fighting. Let's communicate, but let's not fight. Zoom. Alright. Alright, so the meeting ID is this. So when you come onto the Zoom, you'll be in like a waiting room and then I have to let you in. So you just call. Shoot, someone's calling. Hold on. I wish I had I need like a.
It's Mission Shutdown. To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hello. 1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm just putting on a. I just have to tag something and then we will. Hold on for 1 second. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm just trying to put so that. Okay, there you go. All right, guys. So I just added the Zoom. Link so that people from the UK and like elsewhere can call in. I just realized you guys can't call in. I don't want this to just be like an American thing. Okay, hey. So who am I talking to?
Me.
Great. Thank you so much for calling in. What do you want to comment on?
Okay, I actually want to comment on. I'm going to comment on a couple of things. One thing is obviously the GENSPECT thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they say a lot of things. They say it in a really nice way, but they wind up deflecting from the actual criticisms that are made all the time. Like when the lady came on, and she's very friendly and she smiled and she was like, "Well, the kids won't want to come if we don't have any trans people." And she compared it to how, like, treatment centers often have people that have a history of drug addiction. I mean, yeah, I think a person might feel like it's a lot easier to bring in people that have addiction histories, to talk to people that have these histories, to relate to them and things like that. But if you had someone who was, like, actively using and had track marks up and down their arms and was, like, still selling drugs,
and was like, actually, I mean, I think drugs is like the lifestyle for some people. Like, it really worked out for me. That probably wouldn't be where you wanted to bring your kids, right?
That's a pretty good point. That's a pretty good point.
Like, it's, you know, it's one thing to say, hey, like, we are friendly towards these people. We accept their human rights. We don't hate these people. And it's a kind of different thing to say, hey, we think this is like a valid and acceptable way to deal with intense self-loathing and confusion and identity.
And
because,
that some people can
benefit. Way to
benefit.
deal with it.
Right.
Like the gender doctors that you could have sent your kids to also think that, right? The gender therapists already think that. Like the creepy school teachers already think that. So what's GenSpect doing if they're just going to be sort of validating that transition is an acceptable way to deal with it if you're having like a really hard time with, you know, wanting to destroy every part of your body that reminds you of yourself.
Right. Right. And I think that, you know, some of these kids are what's like terminally unique, where they all believe that they're the one unique exception, that their problems are bigger than anybody else's in the world, that they're the one that if the message is that some rare cases transition can help, you know, what is the chance that the vast majority of these kids are going to be like, well, I'm that rare, unique case. You know, my problems are so huge and unlike everybody else.
Kids think that they're not. Because, like, they're presumably there because they are experiencing, like, disorders, in other words, for distress, right? Depression, anxiety, dissociation from their bodies. So if they're experiencing these symptoms, what would draw the kids to the conclusion that they're not that person, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, you know, expecting them for some reason to, like, want to opt out of that when you're telling them the solution to this problem is to do this, and this is the thing that works, and here's an example of people it worked for. What about that would draw them to the conclusion that this isn't appropriate for them?
Right. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good question, and I think one of my criticisms too is what you had said earlier on, just the kind of non-answers that are given, you know, and maybe whatever you want to say or whatever anybody wants to say about the way that maybe Karen asks her questions or gives her criticisms, you know, maybe it could be framed or whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, some of the questions are valid and some of the, you know, a lot of other people share those same questions, and it just doesn't seem like they're in a minute, actually.
You can read and watch a lot of responses from GenSpect people, including the person who just called into you. Did they address any of that? No, right? Like, why are you guys all acting like you're not understanding basic English when people ask these questions?
Right. Yeah, it's just such a complex. It's like, you know, yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great point. Well, I really appreciate you raising that. Thanks so much for your comment. Thanks so much for calling in. Is there any last comment you want to make?
One last comment that I want to make is it's impossible to untie this whole DSD thing from the trans thing. If you go to the Wikipedia page for the history of, like, transgenderism, what you're going to find is all the earliest listed examples from the early 1900s. If you actually look those people up, they're all intersex people. If you look at the work of Kinsey, of John Money, all these, like, doctors are early in the gender thing. A lot of their work is based in dealing with people with DSDs and intersex disorders and things.
So if I look up what transgender, I'm going to pull that up right now. Let's see.
Like Christine Jorgensen from the movie The Danish Girl, if you look up that person, what it says in their page is a quote from their obituaries. They initially went to a doctor for a lack of male development.
Wow.
That sounds like a DSD to me.
Right. Wow. Let's see. And you're right. And the thing that's the one thing that I really get angry about is that, listen, I can sympathize, I can empathize with the claim that, you know, maybe we're lacking humanity and that some people are being dragged into this who really don't want to be a part of this whole thing. And maybe, maybe some of the prescriptions that we've made, or, even what Exelanzic has said about whether case individuals should be, should have to amend their birth certificate. I understand all of that, can be up for debate. And I understand maybe needing to soften stances on that. And I really do. I genuinely do appreciate that there is a humanity element that gets lost sometimes. With that being said,
Yeah.
Exelanzic is not the one to draw the connection between DSTs and the transgender debate, period. She is responding to the fact that has always been a justification, and the fact that...
And there'd be no Leah Thomas if there wasn't a Castor Semenya.
Right, exactly.
If there wasn't that person who made them change the rules because, it wasn't fair to do the sex testing, determine if you're male or female, because then that person couldn't compete, then we wouldn't have gotten rid of the rules determining you had to be female to begin with.
That's an excellent point. While you're on, I'm going to look it up. Let's see, history. Do you think it's under history?
Yeah, definitely like a transgender history or something like that on that page. I think one of the first ones was just Christine Jorgensen. If you actually look that person up, it says on their page that.
Okay, here we go. So it says, all right. Oh, so transsexual. Okay, let's see. Distinctions between the terms transgender and transsexual are commonly based on distinctions between gender and sex. Hence, transsexuality may be said to deal more with physical aspects of one's sex, while transgender considerations deal more with one's psychological gender disposition or predisposition. Jorgensen publicly rejected transsexual in 1979 and instead identified herself in newsprint as transgender, saying, quote, "Gender doesn't have to do with bed partners, it has to do with identity. Some have objected to the term transsexual on the basis that it describes a condition related to gender identity rather than sexuality." Let me just see, hold on. Christine Jorgensen, she's only in here once, let me see.
Because, on their Wikipedia page, it says...
yeah, let me see. I wonder if intersex... and the word intersex... That's another...
transition on Christine Jorgensen's Wikipedia page, it says that returning to New York after military service, increasingly concerned over, as one obituary later called it, a lack of male physical development. Christine Jorgensen heard about sex reassignment surgery.
Listen to this. Okay, it says in November 2017, and this is also why they love the term intersex. Notice that they don't use the term DSD or developmental sex disorders. They love the term intersex because that smashes the binary. That means that there is a third, category. So it says in November 9th, this is on the transgender Wikipedia page. It says in November 2017, the Federal Constitutional Court ruled that the civil status law must allow a third gender option. This is in Germany. Thus officially recognizing, quote, third sex, meaning that birth certificates will not have a blank gender entries for intersex people. The ruling came after an intersex person, who is neither a man nor woman, according to chromosomal analysis, brought a legal challenge after attempting to change their registered sex to inter or diverse. So, on the Wikipedia page, it literally says...
up the laws, and then when we try to fight the laws, they're like, why is everyone talking about us?
Right. And this is, and I'm sorry, this is why I can never support somebody like, Claire Graham, who's going around trying to strong arm people. I understand she didn't ask to have her condition. I understand that, she probably has a lot of trauma. On the one hand, I think some of her hardcore knee-jerk reaction comes from the fact of a lifetime of dealing with people who didn't understand, or her trying to, wrap her own mind around her identity. And I understand, and I empathize with, that I have sympathy for, that, I can see the human element in that.
Really tough, and like something that a person is paid per hour to deal with in a place called therapy.
Right, exactly. But at the same time, you can't go, and she is involved in this whole gender she talks about gender. She talks about, gender critical stuff. So if you're going to enter this arena, you've got to understand you can't sit there and then pull well, it's hurting my feelings. If it's hurting your feelings, this isn't the place, this isn't the forum for you to be engaging.
And they don't just pull, it's hurting my feelings. They straight out say it has nothing to do with me while actively being activist.
Right. Like that's not okay. And then to go around doxing people.
I don't know why people keep talking about us. Like, girl.
Yeah, like leave us out of it.
For me. What do you mean drag you at?
No, Claire's full of shit. I'm sorry. Claire's full of shit. And it's like, listen, and I have softened my stance. I do have, compassion for people with case. I can't imagine how awful it'd be for a young, girl or whatever to then be told whatever. That is awful. It's sad, and I understand.
I have compassion, and I think that it must be very difficult for them to come to terms with, and I think they should get all the mental health services that they need and get whatever accommodations that they need in order to be able to live safely. However, I'm not going to go, well, I guess we just have to erase women because, look,
right.
These people.
Right.
And
that's why they've been used.
Of getting rid of my femaleness.
And the fact of the matter is, if we don't have an excellent, airtight response to, well, what about intersex people? Then we will continue to lose ground as we've already have. People act like this is not a major, argument point. And it is hard, and I hate that.
They do it on purpose.
Yeah.
They do it on purpose because these people are more difficult because they're more sympathetic for obvious reasons, like the obvious reason of not being a raging pervert. It's a lot easier to put these people forward to get the legal changes made. And then once they do that, they just disappear and go, why is everyone attacking us? Isn't this about trans people?
Yeah. Yeah, and I do feel for the kids who don't want anything to do with this debate at all and who aren't activists and who aren't, and it, oh God, at the same time.
Women don't want anything to do with
exactly.
I don't have anything to do with transgenderism.
Exactly.
If I wanted to have something to do with what sort of right pervert should have in public.
Exactly. Thank you. And that is so true because at the same time, when I was talking about why this conversation is happening and why, it's legitimate that it's happening, and people would, always say, well, what if you had a daughter who, then realized that she wasn't developing around puberty, and then you guys found out that, she had this condition. And I was like, well, I do have two daughters.
I wouldn't gaslight my daughter like a complete crazy person. I wouldn't tell my daughter, we thought you were a girl because I don't know. I guess I just didn't bother with any medical care until she was 15 and didn't have a period, and it turned out that she weren't. I wouldn't lie and be okay. So remember how we always used to say that women have this and men have that? Well, just because of you, special person Snowflake, I'm going to say that all of that is a lie.
Right.
No, I would tell my daughter the truth. I'd say you are a male. You don't look like the other boys because you have this condition. We're going to have to make some accommodations. We're going to have to figure some things out. That big gotcha is just assuming that everybody is deathly afraid of having a kid that's different.
Right.
Everyone isn't.
Right. And, just the point that you raised about the fact that, no, these people did not ask to be dragged into this, but like you said, neither did women. And when people say, oh, well, if you had a daughter, I do have two daughters. I do have two daughters who are being impacted by all of this. These debates and these caveats and these
play sports and use
absolutely. Oh, my girls both, they play soccer and basketball, and right now as little kids they play in just integrated leagues. There's boys and girls on the team because they're toddlers. They're all just, kicking each other's shins. It's like, you know what I mean? It's really cute, but it's but I'm already seeing though, I know as it gets...
But that by the time they get to 8, 9, it's going to start diverging. By the time they hit 12, it's a whole other thing.
And my daughter loves sports. She loves it. I already see it. And it's funny, too, what's the interesting is, of the two girls, she's the more princessy, loves to do her nails, loves pink frilly dresses, but she's like a beast in sports. She like she's really good. She loves it. She loves getting dirty and loves, but then she'll do this little like princess like twirl whenever she like scores a goal, and like it's funny. It's so funny because she's still so girly with it, but it's like, again, it's just like, again, I don't want this to be taken away from her, So yeah, we're all fighting for something, and to try to shut us up or to shut people up and their genuine concerns, I'm sitting, I'm having to watch these poor girls be disqualified from swimming that they've worked for their whole lives because they got to accommodate fucking Leah dickhead Tom. I hate him, I hate the whole situation, but oh my God. Well, anyway, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate your comments. I think it's really valid perspective. So thank you so much, and thanks for listening.
You're welcome.
All right, take care. All right, guys, hold on for like 1 second. Here, I have to go to the bathroom really fast. While I do that, I'm going to play, I want to play something from Karen Davis to give her perspective on this whole thing so you guys can kind of understand, where she's coming from. See, I'm not sure which one is first. Hold on. So just while I pee really fast. Yeah, let's see. Is this?
Here she had concerns about you. I am not concerned about the members of GENSPECT. I really am not. I do not care a damn about them. What I'm talking about is that this organization is viewed as some kind of credible, some kind of credible body. And yet they are affiliated with virtuous pedophile supporters. I would think that would give people pause, for the love of Christ. But I believe it has given some people pause. It's certainly given the people at GENSPECT pause. But I believe that it should give people pause. And the other thing they should be concerned about is the fact that Bailey seeks to destigmatize the desire to rape children. Blanchard seeks to destigmatize the desire to rape children. And one of the things that can lead to the mental illness of gender dysphoria is child sexual abuse. So isn't there a bit of conflict of interest there if they are supposed to be helping families whose children have a syndrome that can be caused by sexual abuse? Wouldn't it militate against their stated purpose to platform people who seek to destigmatize the very thing that could have driven some of these children into gender dysphoria? Does anyone else have a problem with this? Does anybody at GENSPECT have a problem with this? Would any of the parents at GENSPECT have a problem with this? If so, go ahead and email whoever it is over there, because I don't know who the hell it is. So let's keep going. Particularly if the language was used laced with invective and ad hominem. I have not attacked anybody. I don't care about Stella O'Malley's character. I don't need to talk about it. I'm looking at what her organization does. She may be kind to old people and puppies and bake awesome chocolate chip cookies. I have no clue. She might be fast and tough on the bike. I have no idea. I am not interested. I am simply talking about GENSPECT, right? I would question her professional judgment, however, if she is putting together or is heading a family support organization and is still affiliated with virtuous pedophile supporters. And if this is what passes for a rebuttal. Let me just read the whole paragraph without commenting. And see if you can find a fact in it. Okay? Oh, thank you so much, JPH. JPH says, we're being conned by TRAs and pedo apologists. Thank you for what you're doing and for platforming other prominent women so viciously attacked by the pedo mob. I so wish to see other GC creators fighting the same fight. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Let's see if we can find a fact in here. Here we go. While we hope to provide a comprehensive response, there may be something we miss. If so, please let us know by speaking with us directly. We are open to dialogue, as all people in our movement should be. What we are not open to is TRA-style behavior of the hit piece, which demonstrates nothing but bad faith. Social media is a fraught place. As we take ourselves and our work seriously, we have requested that people email us with any concerns they might have. This has become, however, our first crime, requesting emails rather than accusations made on social media. To date, we've received 8 genuinely concerned emails, and we've answered them. We believe that social media creates a strange environment which supports petty gossip and where discussion can become heightened. We continue to believe that anyone with concern should email us. We would urge you to consider what kind of person would speak about you rather than to you. These are the kind of people who would do this. These people are the people they're criticizing. How about that? They have met the enemy, and it is them. If he or she had concerns about you, particularly if the language used was laced with invective and ad hominem. So are they saying that I should get in touch with them about their team member calling me a pedophile? Somebody will, and it'll probably be, well, I'm not going to say anything else about that. Okay, did anybody find a fact in there? Was there any fact? Everything is qualified here.
All right, that was like perfect timing because that was like one of the clips I just wanted to give. Just, I wanted to just give sort of the perspective of what Karen's concerns are, because I don't think that her concerns are they're not invalid, period. Maybe her approach could be different. I don't know, I don't think that they're invalid, and I think but at the same time, on the one hand, I wanted to show that clip because I think that is everything she says in that clip is really valid, and that sort of represents a lot of kind of a lot of where she's coming from. And then I wanted to show another clip where I think she gets it wrong, and where this is where the nuance needs to happen, because as a parent, anybody who's a parent can tell, maybe you guys can see what I'm talking about, or where I'm saying that I think she gets this wrong, this part, because the concerns I think are accurate, but it's how do we address those concerns where I think she may miss the mark. But this is why this needs to be a conversation. This is why she doesn't have to be the one. Oh shit! She doesn't have to be the one to prescribe what to do, or maybe her role is just pointing out the issue, and then hopefully somebody can figure out what is the resolution. Let's see.
On Linehan's show, positively about transitioning a 72-year-old man. That Ray Blanchard. These are not nice people. These are not people with the interests of children and women uppermost in their minds. These are people who sell trans. They don't want to sell it to anybody or everybody. They just want to sell it to some people. They don't want to see all the kids castrated or all the girls get their breasts cut off, just the right one.
And so that's kind of what the one caller was talking about when we were discussing, when she said that there's a difference between, and just going off of the drug and alcohol rehab example, there's a difference between showing like a detransitioner versus somebody who's actively engaging in an AGP fetish. And saying, well, look, and having them try to dissuade you. Just them existing as in their AGP active status is them saying, well, it does work for some people, worked for me, whether they say that or not. That's the message that's being sent to kids when you're actually having trans-identified males who call themselves trans women and use she and her and are, engaging with performing femininity. So, and that's kind of, and whether they state it or not, the obvious conclusion is that the transition works for some people, not others. And I guess the stance is that it's adults can do it.
And they believe that pedophilia is a sexual orientation, and so is autogynephilia. So what's the end game for those beliefs? Now, if O'Malley and crew don't share those convictions, they might need to say that.
And that's a really good point, because like I was saying, the fact that GenSpect is growing at the rate that it's growing, and the fact that we don't have alternative options right now, then it is so crucial that we be very, very critical and analytical of the foundation that this thing rests on, because this may end up serving as a model for all other sort of non-affirmative care organizations, right? So I do think that it's valid that we as the community are really taking a look at, listen, if these people are contributing, and there's no way to say that their position on virtuous pedophilia is not going to influence their recommendations on a policy level and on a structural organizational level. Then why the exceptions on the website? How do you know? This bug talked about helping kids with blockers. This XX Matters says, you haven't been watching Heard of the Virtuous Pedophiles. Mex says, there's a lot of debate about giving blockers even to kids with precocious puberty because of the side effects of Lupron and serious bone issues. Many are wheelchair bound in time from that. Jesus Christ, that's awful. How's my sound? TPS says, if the org denounces a law against puberty blockers, it's because it, quote, takes away needed medical care, then they support puberty blockade. No says, and stop slandering Angus Fox. Plenty of writers use pseudonyms, including J.K. Rowling. It's common enough among writers. Yeah, but is he a writer or is he like a policy influencer? I mean, that's different. J.K. Rowling writes like books about wizards flying around on broomsticks. I think that's kind of different than like somebody who's, advising for policy to save lives and bodies of children. ROGD Father says, GenSpect does not support pedophiles. Stella has interviewed Cantor, who first introduced the concept of desisters, thereby making an important contribution to debunking the idea that, quote, trans is real. Fair. No says, when does GenSpect center, quote, male sexuality? It's females and males pretty equally. In fact, probably tip towards our girls with ROGD, who we know are often lesbians. Aisha De Queiroz says, these people refuse to acknowledge all the pedo affiliations with GenSpect. Kate Breslin says, pseudonyms actually protect people from being harmed. I mean, is he scared of being harmed, though? Is that why? Mech says, at ROG Father, Dr. Cantor said that pedophile is a sexual orientation and should be added to LGBT, and society punishes them too much, and sometimes kids benefit from sex with adults. Jesus fucking Christ. So, Dr. Cantor said that sometimes kids benefit from sex with adults. Jesus Christ. Cantor wants to destigmatize pedophilia. Gender Mapper says, how about just the way Stella treats people? I received an email from her, a threatening one, telling me to, quote, support them. And when I said I wouldn't, she told PEC to, quote, never speak to them again. So that's from Gender Mapper. So Gender Mapper was basically threatened for not giving public support. All right, I want to finish this.
Because can you imagine if you're a parent and your child has started to dabble in trans, and one of these people tell you, oh, why don't you check out Ray Blanchard's work? And then you check out Ray Blanchard's work, And it says that, your child could be an emerging autogynephile or an emerging autoandrophile, and you should just accept it. Can you imagine that? Now, if O'Malley and Ayad and D'Angelo and the rest of the GenSpect crew think that people are too stupid to actually read Blanchard's work and see what he says, or listen to interviews and see what he says, they have no respect for the people that they are trying to serve. And what do they say? If some parent comes to them and say, hey, I was listening to this other interview with Blanchard, or I read some of his work, and he said that autogynephilia is innate. He said that, my kid is going to stay this way. I don't want my kid to stay this way.
All right. Let me see what the chat is saying. ROGD Father says, and GenSpect did issue a statement clarifying that just because they cite a contribution by a certain researcher doesn't mean they endorse that person's entire body of work. And that's fair too. Listen, I did a whole video on autogynephilia, and I quoted Ray Blanchard's work. I mean, autogynephilia as a concept was created and coined and first described by Ray Blanchard. So I guess technically you could say that I even have ties with pedophilia, on that level. But at the same time, I'm also not working directly with parents. So, it's complex, guys. All right, does anybody want to call in? I can open up the line again. Anybody want to make a comment about what we're looking at here? Let me check Zoom. Oh, the meeting ended. Oops. Oh, here we go. Okay, hold on for 1 second. If anybody wants to join Alex, I mean, you're welcome to call in. I just didn't know if you felt comfortable doing that. I'd love to have you on. Anybody who wants to call in, the number and everything, it's pinned to the top. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it, hold on. I have a way that I can put it on the screen so that you guys can call in. Hold on for 1 second. Let's see. Let's see. And then let me get the, hold on for 1 second, guys. Okay. All right, it is, so 215-822, let's see, 9105, all right. Phone, okay. All right, if anybody wants to, and if not, I can just start reading, I guess. Well, we can listen to more of this, Karen. And then let me, okay, hold on. Why am I forgetting how to take I don't usually take screenshots on here anymore. Control. Damn. All right. Here, we'll listen to while I'm doing this. Hold on.
It is suffering terribly. It's turned the whole house upside down. Tormenting the whole family. I'm afraid he's going to kill himself. He's going to get his testicles cut off, and he's going to do the pseudo vagina thing, and my child's going to die. Or he's not going to be able to walk right. He's going to shoot up the hormones and destroy his health. So what would they say? Because what it implies by saying that autogynephilia is innate, it implies that it is normal or it is to be expected that these individuals will seek to undergo medicalization. Is that what Blanchard is trying to communicate? Blanchard has spoken in favor of transition. Now, GENSPECT has said that they are not in favor of childhood transition. Are they in favor of young adult transition? And Exelenzik just asked an excellent question. Why would innate mean permanent? Exactly.
I mean, so I just feel like I do think that some of these are valid questions. But I also do understand the difficulty of trying to come up with strategies to talk to children. Let's see. It's polite not to tell perverts to fuck off and take their freaky shit behind closed doors. True. Is someone calling? Excellence again here. Excellence, call. Come save me. I'm like, I wanted this to be a neutral stream, so I have to stay. I'm trying to stay neutral. Excellence calling, or Alex calling, or VF555 calling. One of you guys, come save me. Someone come take over. Let's see, ROGD father. It would be great if Karen and all those who she inspires would focus the energy spent on railing on GenSpect to instead use that time in your communities helping to empower women. I'm behind in this stream. I wanted to say that the drug rehab having ex-addicts analogy is decent, but it's not perfect. Society is where the drug addiction is bad. We all agree, full stop. That's true. That's true. Whereas, there's not consensus, apparently, on the other thing. Okay, good. Gender Mapper's calling in. Okay, damn it. All right. Yay, Alex is calling in. Are you calling in on the phone or are you doing Zoom? Oh, probably Zoom. Hold on, let me see. So Alex, it's not working. What did you try? Maybe that's why. Is it not working anymore? Did I put the wrong? God. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Damn. What was the number that Did I put the number up incorrectly? Shit. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Fuck. Here, let me check what my,
Eating healthier? Meat?
I may have put on the wrong here. While I'm trying to figure this out, I'm going to play Karen. Just so that you guys aren't just listening to nothing. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Let me figure this out.
Why would it mean permanent? Or if it is innate and it's permanent, if it is innate and static and it's not going to change, why medicalize? Why not? Now I would say, Lord have mercy, that the lesser of many evils.
Here we go.
Would be.
Okay, so it is
Alex.
Oh yay, Alex is on the phone.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Yay, we have Alex from Gender Mapper on. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for calling in.
Thank you. Is this live?
Yes, we are live and on air. Yeah, so I want to, thank you so much for deciding to call in. And I understood, some of your potential reservations, but anything you want to share, just sort of what you've been going through. I know that you've had an experience that I think is important to highlight. So I'd love to hear from you about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd really just like to highlight the kind of the ways this organization has acted in a so-called professional manner, and I was asked in an email that was actually sent out to my colleagues, kind of outlining all of the ways in which I don't support Stella enough. And I wrote back saying, I don't want to support you publicly. And it was a very, very threatening email, with a very strange email. At the beginning, I thought maybe she was sending it in because she was writing it drunk. And then she finished it off by saying, we hope none of you ever bother emailing us again. Now, that is her talking to me and Partners for Ethical Care. And by the way, we're not the only people that have ever experienced her bizarre kind of, emails and things. Like Jennifer Billick got the same. I've heard of a lot of people saying that they got these messages of support. But the email I got was so weird, and the reaction that I got from her, which was, of course, like super unprofessional, super not normal. I just think it's I don't have a problem with GENSPECT, really. It's actually her. I think she's a really difficult person and seems to want to control everything and will not accept any dissenters.
Yeah, and it does seem like there's a pattern at this point. Because
Yes.
Originally you could say, all right, maybe it's okay because Karen Davis is calling him out. Maybe that's why they're kind of targeting her. And then, okay, well, Exelantic,
Right.
is close with Karen, so maybe that makes sense. But then, and then even just the Claire.
Listen,
go ahead.
I'm just a woman with a project, and I also have a nonprofit. It's like I'm trying, very much trying in this whole debate to give resources and to give people something to use, which is of course the map. I do, I don't get paid from Partners for Ethical Care or the Gender Mapping Project. People give me, small, really, really nice donations. But I do this because I want to do the work. And I have to admit, I've worked with a lot of different people in this kind of debate, and I've never seen anything so disrespectful. I've never seen people act so unprofessional either. And I have to say, it gives me like a super horrible feeling.
Right. Well, and also it just sounds like just on a very rudimentary. I'm trying to pull up your. Do you have a website? Oh, hey, gendermapper.org. Okay, here we go. I just want to have it in the background just while we're talking. But just kind of like a really rudimentary, like, just sense that I got after talking to you privately, was that, they clearly recognize the value of your work, which I think anybody who understands what you're doing can see how precious and valuable of a resource it is that you're creating. I think that you do have a lot of credibility in the community. I think that you do work professionally. I think that and I just feel like as a organization they're trying to really almost like absorb.
They don't want anybody
people.
else to do any work. And that's what it feels like. It feels like they want to be the people who do everything. And we should, I suppose, get in line and send them messages of support.
Right.
Even if we don't support them. And if you know what I mean, and if we have a podcast, if they have a podcast about gender critical issues, we're not allowed to have any opinions on it. It's like, feels to me very, very strange. And by the way, I was really, really disappointed to get this email, and also I was disappointed from GenSpect, because I was like, what? after I saw, okay, yet another podcast that's by an EVP, I'm just like, okay,
Right. How many do we need?
It's all the peripheral. It's all the peripheral behavior is what really I'm kind of talking about, like the way treating the trans widows. It's the kind of the bullying nature of this whole thing, and wanting to control every narrative, which you just can't.
Right. And so, I know everybody kind of throws this around and like, oh, you're behaving like a TRA, but frankly, that is the tactic of TRAs, and that's what we need to be so cautious about. We don't. This movement should not be in the business of censoring women with the wrong ideas or the wrong opinions. The fact of the matter is that there are many different ways to approach this, and nothing should be above scrutiny. Especially an organization that's working with the most precious and the most vulnerable of us on the lines of this, which are, vulnerable children and their families. That there's a great responsibility that comes with that, and so I don't believe that any organization that chooses to take that on is above scrutiny. And it's in all of our best interest that they remain open for criticism, and so that we can continue to safeguard and make sure that this never happens again. What happened with the trans thing? We all stepped back and we're too afraid to it was just a one-way flow of information. The trans whoever experts were telling us what it was and what we need to do to support it and how we need to speak and how we need to think, and anybody who questioned or said anything is excommunicated, is a bigot, is given a scarlet A. And we can't replicate that model. It is dangerous. In any direction, it's dangerous.
That's what I felt like. I felt like, when other people are getting messages saying, if you don't write a letter of support, then what? So what happened when I didn't write them the letter of support is they removed all of my resources from their website, because I wouldn't write a letter of support for them. And they told, this is some really, really strange behavior from an organization that's trying to act professionally.
Right. And another comment that you made when we were talking privately, or maybe it was just on the thread, was you said you're concerned about the growing list of undesirables, of people, who it's like everyone's being told not to associate with. And now it's like they're trying to throw Exel Lanzik on that list. They're trying to throw Karen Davis on that list, and any of us who associate with them on that list. When I posted a picture of Exel Lanzik and Kelly J. Keene, somebody comes on and goes, "Oh, you're going to Kelly's going to kill her credibility." And so, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing, oh, if you talk to this person, then all of your work, everything that you've done for women is out the window. Or, oh, Exel Lanzik had one take that we don't agree with, so now we're going to completely disregard everything she's done. I agree.
That was also part of this bizarre email that I got. It was saying that it's just what it is. Alex has this is part of it. Alex has maintained friendly relations with a woman who has accused me personally of being a pedophile enabler, a secret trans rights activist, and a danger to children. And then said Alex does not see fit to correct the nasty allegations. It's like, this is obviously talking about Karen.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's your job.
It's my job. Yeah. And then she tries to go on and tries to say that that because I also talk about autogynephilia, Alex could therefore be subject to the same attacks that we are. It is one thing not to defend us. What Alex is doing is bolstering these attacks, despite knowing them to be unfair. So she wants everybody.
Well, what does she mean? Despite knowing them to be unfair? Well, who's made that judgment? Who's made that decision? Because I'm pretty sure there's no consensus on that, Stella.
Yeah, and then she writes a public statement of support for the Wider Lens podcast and GENSPECT would be very welcome on PEC's part part and on Alex's part.
Or else
She had the
what?
gall to write that to me.
Or else what? It's like
Or else I'll tell you what. So I wrote back and I said, no way. So they removed all of our resources from their website.
wow. Oh, that's why. Okay. So yeah, okay. And that's wow. As if you're supposed to keep up with every single who likes who and who's getting along with who and we're supposed to avoid women and the work that they're doing because of no, we're not doing that. And one thing I'll say, one big mistake, and you'd think that someone who's been in this community long enough would understand, it is uh it is a losing strategy to try to bully the type of woman who's speaking out against the trans rights movement. The type of woman who's putting her face and her name on the line to speak out against this thing is not really the type of woman that's like real easy to bully or to push around typically.
Yeah. I'm not easy to boss around. I'm not. I'm really not. So when I saw it, I was honest, I was so embarrassed for her because it was so cringe. It was so high school. It was like, I am not gonna be like, it was so, and then I'm saying to myself, this email is nothing but bullying, and yet this person is writing a book on anti-bullying.
Right.
Unreal.
That is unreal. Wow. Yeah, and I think that that's a concern, and I just don't think that any, and at the same time, if I'm gonna sit here and say that, because women like Expalanzic or maybe even Karen or myself or anybody, just because they had a bad take, doesn't mean that we abolish all of their work. I'm gonna stop short at saying that, nobody should support GENSPECT or whatever, but I really, as an open letter to them. And as I'm learning more and starting to understand more of what the criticisms are and where the support is and both sides of this debate, I think that they need to be more willing and more transparent in dealing with criticism and responding to it in a way that doesn't get into this sort of like
it's just Darvo though, because anybody. By the way, like at the time that she wrote that email, I hadn't even really criticized them. I just kind of said a few things about the podcast, and I was like, I thought genuinely that I could, the new gender critical podcast. Why shouldn't I be able to comment on it? But no, that's not allowed, and that means that me and my colleagues need to get an email about my sin, so I can repent.
So that we all, I used to like, oh my God. I just remember like when I was a kid, I think it was like some program I was in or school or whatever, but it was like if you had any kind of run in with like one of the teachers or the counselors or whatever, right, and you were bad, they would send out an email to everybody, and they always had this Friday meeting, and whatever teacher would talk about any incidents they had with one of the kids. So I remember I had like kind of like freaked out at one of the ladies and like, was like kind of rude and like got upset about something, whatever. I was young. And I guess they had their Friday meeting, and then it was like the next week, I kept getting called in to have like talks with people and be like, so we heard about the incident. And I was like, oh my God, I was already said I'm sorry. Like I had a bad day. Like, and it was like and then it was like everybody just all started uniformly treating me like I was like a problem. I was like, Jesus Christ. And that's what that's meant to do. It's meant to be like, we're all on the same board about Alex. We're going to give her one chance to fix this before we all need
to think about it and make a public statement, and then all will be good again.
Right. Talk about how great we are and rescind your criticisms of us. And that's not fair because you have a project to protect too, and it's like, it's not fair to put you in a position to have to compromise on, you either have to choose to either compromise on your principles or do you have to compromise the well-being of your project, and maybe that takes a hit.
To be honest, like it's not just that. It was the whole personal nature of this, of obviously singling me out. and writing a thing about all of my crimes. And also, it became evident that they were stalking me online and looking at every single comment I was making, highlighting them, and then bringing it up. I mean, that's very, very strange.
Right.
The whole thing of Alex is friends with some people who criticize us. Like, what on earth?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Well, and it's like, is she handling like all the communications and like all the PR and also managing the programs? Like maybe, just. Are they? Do we know? Are they 501c3? Are they? Do they have tax exempt status as like a charity or nonprofit?
No, I don't think so. But a Partners for Ethical Care is a 503c, and so that was just a bye-bye. That was just a byproduct. But yeah, this is by the way also not like an isolated incident. Lots of people have had these. Lots of people have had these experiences with her specifically, and it's really, really such a shame because I had so many high hopes for them when they came out, and the whole thing has been such a disappointment. And it's mainly really just the way that she has actually behaved.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Alex. I'm really glad that you did decide to come on and speak up. And, I don't think that you should just suffer silently. So I'm glad you said something. And we got to hold everybody, people accountable. Again, this isn't a takedown. This isn't not meant to be a hit piece. This isn't let's all go, destroy GenSPECT. It's, we're all responsible for this. We're all part of this community. We're all working hard. Your project's so important and is going to be a resource for, years to come for families.
Hopefully.
And
also for pornography,
Right.
Also the whole part of the Gender Mapping Project is also to document the trans porn and how deviant it's become. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just the gender clinics, which I know is really important, but it's also taking a look at the wider picture, the porn culture, the effects of the nullo boys, like all of this stuff, right?
Right.
And I would have totally given a message of support, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say like a couple of months ago, but now after I've kind of seen what I've seen, it's like I just don't want to compromise myself like that, and I also don't want to be told what to do. Right.
I totally agree. Alex, why don't you plug your project? Just give us a brief overview of your project, and then how we can support and contact you.
Well, you've got the Gender Mapping Project, which is behind you. That's my website. I do also have a channel on YouTube, Gender Mapper. And that's what I do. And if you have a gender clinic that you want to put on the map, please write to me and we'll put you on the map. If you want to volunteer with me, I'd love it. Let's work together. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, guys, go check out the Gender Mapping Project. It's a really valuable resource for parents and for anybody in the community who wants to look into that. Thanks so much, Alex. I appreciate you.
Awesome.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. All right. So, oh my God, you guys, thank you. Look at all these people giving me money. Thank you. Let me go back through all of this. I think I missed some. And Jaleesa, is she in here? There's this woman, I guess, who found my channel recently and has been writing me the nicest messages and wrote me a really, really just beautiful email. I want you to know that I read it. I didn't get a chance to respond. But I read your email, Jaleesa. Really, really sweet. Thank you. That sort of stuff. You have no idea how much that sort of stuff keeps me going. EGP gave me $200. Thank you. Thank you, you guys. That's why that makes it so I can keep doing this and hopefully do better work. I want you guys to stay in touch with me and just tell me the sort of work that I can do that's helpful. Oh, yeah, Jaleesa Cutler. I'm so glad I found your channel. You're just so great. Give me $5. You're so sweet. You really are. And I love that email you wrote me. Thank you. JPH EGP gave me $100. Thank you. And the little corgi. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Sincerely. I do have a family to support, and I really want to be able to keep doing this. And your guys' support makes it so I can continue to justify taking time to do this. And I'm passionate about this, and I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I'm grateful for the support. And Chloe Kelton says, "Don't forget about me on Insta." I know. I'm sorry. I do have to respond. You know, anybody who's like sent me messages and I haven't gotten back to, I'm so sorry. I'm really slow sometimes. I just, it's so hard for me to like budget my time, and I want to connect with everybody, and just know that like I'm so grateful for those who reach out. And I promise I will get to everything. We'll send money just to get your attention. Definitely work. Thank you. And JPH says, we are being conned by TRAs and pedo apologists. Prominent women are being canceled and bullied by these people out in the open, and they got so obscene that they do not care anymore, that we can all see it and read it. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm not okay with the bullying. I think that no one's getting fame and glory off of being a gender critical feminist. Maybe we get a little bit of, it was like somebody like made a bit, I guess I posted a picture of Kelly J. Keene and Ex-Atlantic together, and everybody was like, just, it's fun and cool to see those two worlds collide. It's just really cool to kind of see the offline. It's just cool. It's a cool moment, I think, for, all of us who have been following this narrative. And then some people are like, oh, it's so cringy to hear people fangirling and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, listen, just because like a few of us know what's going on behind the scenes and who these people are and the work that they're doing, I mean, it's not like they're getting this massive glory and driving Porsches and stuff. People support us with these really generous donations, but it's not like huge. And so, you guys also just got to realize, like, yeah, we're all going to make stupid takes at one point or another, but we also really do need to protect the women. And listen, and also GenSpect, I understand and I don't want to go too far onto one side of this, because I know that some parents are really concerned about the attack that GenSpect is under. And I want to be clear, this is not meant to be a hit piece. This is not meant, any of the criticisms that I'm helping to underline or highlight is just a platform, how people are feeling, because I do think it's important that we stay on top of how these organizations evolve. With that being said, I know that parents depend on this as an organization, and I know that the other option is just affirmative care models like Mermaids, and this is not meant to tear down this organization or tear down what they're doing or to dismantle the parents groups that these parents rely on. And so if any other parents want to, like the ROGD dad, if any of you guys want to call in and give your perspective, I'd love to hear from you too. I want to get all sides of this. If there's anybody else, VF555 said parents can do the job without them. So it's, it's hard. Oh, so all right. Having supported a lot of what Karen's already said, I do want to underscore one take, I think, that where she gets it wrong. And I think that this is where the kind of issue comes in. And I want to explain why I feel this way.
If your kid is an autogynephile, getting them into good therapy, having excellent boundaries and saying, look, I don't care what you think, you're not going into the women's restroom. And if I hear about it, you're going to have problems with me. Right? Good boundaries. And you tell them, look, all this crazy crap, all this criminal crap, and all of this like
Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. So anybody who is raising children right now, I have 4 kids. I don't have any teenagers. My oldest son is he's 11, so he's like a preteen. Karen, I don't know. Does Karen have children? I'm not sure. I think this is where her take starts to veer and where she starts to miss, because anybody who's actually actively parenting kids, that's not telling kids to cut the weird crap and the criminal crap, when they have the whole rest of the world telling them that it's valid and it's good and it's wonderful and they're special and they shouldn't listen to anybody who tells them that this is wrong. that's not a good, that's just not a realistic strategy. It's not a strategy that's going to work with children. And I think it's a little bit tone deaf to tell parents that all they got to do is just tighten up boundaries and tell their kids to cut the crap. Again, when now they're having more and more resources, more and more support that is affirming them, right? That's just, yeah, that just kind of is like disconnected from reality a little, you know. No says, wow, you guys are all trolls. No one here wants to have an honest debate. The accusations are honestly disgusting and do nothing to further advance the cause of protecting kids. Then call in. I want to hear from you too. Listen, I don't want this to be a one-sided thing. I really don't. I really genuinely don't. I don't want this to be, oh, Meg says she teaches young kids, but she's not a parent. Okay, and that makes sense. That makes sense. And that's where it gets frustrating. It does get hard because me as a parent, that's where I start to connect with the other parents, where that's not a, telling a parent that they're going to look at you like they're just going to smile and nod. Be like, okay, sounds good. We'll try that. And just know that you have no idea what it's like raising a child. That's just the reality of it. That's just not a way, an effective way to talk to kids who are really, feeling something and working through really complex emotions and stuff. And if that's what non-parents are imagining that it's all that's needed, I can now understand why parents are getting frustrated and feeling like they aren't being listened to and feeling like they're just getting stupid advice from every angle. Because in some ways that they are, and that's why we have to listen to parents more, because they are the ones in the trenches actually talking to kids. They are the ones who can tell us what they need. So I really do. I want to hear from somebody who feels like they did benefit from GenSpect. I want to hear from you too. Because while our opinions, matter as feminists and activists, we're not the final user. We're not the intended user of the product, right? This is for you. This is about what you need. This is about what works for you. You can tell us a lot about how to structure this thing because you guys are the ones on the ground in this thing. I want to know. I want to know how parents feel about what approaches are working and what they need, and what if they could imagine a perfect resource, what that would look like. What they want for their kids. As a midwife, I would have expected more empathy for childless women from you. What the fuck are you talking about? What does it have to do? Empathy? I'm talking about the fact that this is bad. This is somebody. This is a perspective that clearly does not have experience in raising child. What the fuck does that have to do with empathy? What are you talking about? Karen taught school. She loves kids. Teaching school and raising kids is not the same. I've taught kids and I've raised kids. It is not the same. When you're a teacher, your day ends. Kids are on their best behavior at school. They come home, and that's when their hardest emotions come out. That's when they're able to just kind of like let their walls down and deal with the hardest aspects of themselves. It's just not the same. Poonam Srivastava wants to call in. Then call in. The thing's open. Let me double check the let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. Admit TPS. Okay. All right, hold on. Let me get you up onto the screen. Hold on for 1 second. Hold on. Let me see. Let me get you up on the screen here. Sorry, guys. Okay.
I'm here.
Hey. All right, I'm just trying to figure out. All right. We can just talk. Let's see. We can just get started while I'm trying to figure out. Oh, I guess you don't have your video on anyway. That's fine. Okay. All right. Hey, TPS. Thanks so much for calling
Hey,
in.
sweetie.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm supposed to be at work right now, but I thought I'd call in really quick.
Perfect.
I'm kind of on the fence because, at first I really
Aw, that's
I know you love your
okay.
ABCs, but wait.
That's okay.
I was, I liked Karen at first. I liked her fire. I was kind of okay with the cussing, and I really, really liked getting to hear from the other Karen, the grass widow
Ute.
Karen. I really, really appreciated that content. But then it just, and then she got really, really rabid with GenSpect and the other orgs. And at first I was like, oh, this is infighting. This is horrible. We shouldn't be, questioning each other to this degree. But then she ended up being right.
Mm-hmm.
Because last week, Texas, God bless my state, passed a law that said transing kids medically is child abuse. You can't give puberty blockade to children who have normal puberty. Like, obviously, if they're having puberty at 6, then you still give them the blockers, right? For like a month or 3 to try and get them to a more normal age.
Right.
But GenSpect and the other, and maybe I'm getting the org wrong. Maybe it's a different org. It's the one with Buck Angel and the 2 Aarons.
Oh, that's
Came out with
Gender Dysphoria Alliance.
Yeah, they came out with a formal statement. It was like, oh, this is a horrible law because it's withdrawing needed medical care from vulnerable children. And I was like, if you aren't against medicalizing kids, then you aren't gender critical. You aren't an ally in this fight.
Absolutely.
You just aren't. Like Buck Angel's getting on, I think it might have been Karen who showed it. Buck Angel's on this teleconference, a year or 2 ago going, oh, I'm working with an 8-year-old and they're on puberty blockers and they're doing so great. And I'm like, then you're not gender critical.
No.
Like, if you're selling porn of yourself and you're saying that some kids benefit from being medicalized before they're even 18, then you're not part of this fight. You just aren't. And I kind of agree with the other people who said the drug addict thing doesn't apply. It just doesn't, because people in recovery are in recovery. So the only equivalent to that allegory is detransitioners and people who have desisted. Like, people who are actively trans and actively medicalizing themselves and getting surgeries are not part of the helpers in this movement, because their platforming in the movement says this is a legitimate choice. This is a good choice. This choice worked for this person. And like the other caller said, every trans kid who goes to an org and sees that, they're going to think they're the one. They're the one special one that needs to get surgery and needs to do X, Y, and Z. And it's just, and I don't want to be militant, but there really is no gray area. If you support medically transitioning kids, then you're not part of the movement. There's no gray area on that. There's no concessions. There's no compromise. There's no middle ground. Kids should not be on puberty blockers. They should not get surgery. People should not be able to do that sort of thing to themselves, even as adults. Like, not liking the way your boobs look and getting them smaller or something is completely different than like completely cutting off healthy body parts. We don't tell people that think they're transabled that we should amputate their legs. And suddenly, when it's your sexual characteristics, it makes sense. It's completely crazy. And I have compassion for parents who said in the beginning, GenSpect helped me. And if they don't support medicalizing kids, if I got them confused with Gender Dysphoria Alliance, then I apologize. Maybe they're not a bad org. But when and it's like, it's a catch-22, because it's like, okay, I agree that Karen's right about an organization partnering with somebody who's apologized for pedophilia. That's horrible. You kind of need to come out. You can't just come out and say, well, we agree with some of his work, but not the other. You kind of have to come out and be like, this is horrible shit. We don't support it. Like, you don't have to denounce the person, but you have to vehemently denounce that part of their
and also,
work.
like
And
she said, is he the only sexologist that they could have found who has the same print ideas and the stuff that they do
What
agree
about
with?
William Malone, who, even though we like to crap on him sometimes, Benjamin Boyce, 3 years ago interviewed an endocrinologist named William Malone, who's like, puberty blockers are horrible. They hurt kids. This is how they affect the endocrine system.
Right.
Like, why isn't he on their board?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, and I guess I'm getting GENSPECT confused with Gender Dysphoria
Yeah, but
Alliance.
they have like relationships though. There's a lot of crossover, and then that's an issue too, because then they can sit there and be like, oh, well, we're not. That's the Gender Dysphoria Alliance position. I'm like, yeah, but you do a lot of work with them, from what I understand.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is this is the medicalizing of kids is an issue where there's no compromise. If you think that there's any sort of compromise on that, then you're not part of the movement for protecting children.
Right.
You're just not, because there's never a case where medicalizing a kid is helpful to them.
Right.
Ever. If they don't have a medical condition that legitimately requires blockade or legitimately requires hormones of some type, then it's not legitimate. It's not medical care. And I'm just so angry because I'm like, I read an article the other day that Facebook popped up for me that was like, wonderful family in the UK accepts their 2-year-old trans son. I am not joking.
What?
I am not joking. And they were like, oh, well, he objected to all the dresses and stuff. So we
My
just
daughter
accepted
was
him as a
saying she
boy."
was a boy when she was 2. Yo, we had a family joke, and this is before I knew I was like involved in any of this. We used to call her John, and we used to tease her because she'd be like, "I boy," and we're like, "All right, John, then I guess you can't be Luna anymore."
That is
like,
hilarious.
and we
that
would
you
just
remind me
tease
of
her.
Angie because she called Shiloh John for like a
Yeah.
year and a half, you know?
It
And
was
it's
just
just
a
like-
joke, and we would tease her, and like, but never was I like, oh,
And
wow.
the thing for me is,
Like, I
you know,
need to
I
go get her
started
on
out
drugs.
kind of, I went woke in 2016, which was horrible, and I like almost destroyed my family, and I came back to, you know, being a centrist. But when I came back to being a centrist, the woke were all like, only lived experience counts, only lived experience counts. And I was like, well, my lived experience is that I'm a bisexual woman that had gender confusion from 14 to 23. So it's my lived experience.
Right.
You know, my daughter in first grade was told by her black best friend that white people are racist and he couldn't be her friend anymore.
Right.
Like, I have lived experience with this woke crap. It's hurting my kids. It's
Right.
hurting me. And I'm sick of it. And I'm gonna speak up and I can say, you know, if an org supports medicalizing kids, then they're not an ally. That's just the freaking truth.
Everybody
you know?
likes you in the chat.
Yeah.
They're all saying,
Well, I can't see the chat because I can't do YouTube at the same time.
they like,
I'm like,
you.
either my lived experience counts or it doesn't. And I lost a really close friend because she was like, trans kids. And I was like, look, that's not the only perspective. This shit is harmful.
Oh, you've only lost one? I've lost like all my friends.
I lost my cousin. My cousin doesn't talk to me anymore because I'm center instead of woke.
My daughter's mother-in-law, I'm sorry, my daughter's godmother, who was like there with their baptism, my best friend of all time. We used to, every single year, we would take a vacation together, like her and her kids and me and mine, and no men. We did everything together. Doesn't talk to me anymore. Just totally disowned us.
Yeah, and it's like, I can't do this. I was like, you're being brainwashed by this. And I told her, I was just flat out honest. I was like, you're being brainwashed by this like sympathy thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's not sympathy. That's not self-acceptance. Like, cutting off your body is not accepting yourself.
And that's not
it's
being
not
kind.
Your true self.
You
know,
pushing
being your true self is being your true self. Cutting yourself up isn't truth. Like, our bodies matter.
Right.
You know, they matter.
Right.
And anyway, I gotta let somebody else talk, but I love you and
thank you.
Send you an email soon.
Excellent comment.
Check your post office box because I have presents.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I know.
All right. I'll see you later.
Thank you so
sweetie.
much. I appreciate you. Take care. All right. That was a good one. And I just want to say, I still do want to hear from somebody on the other side. I don't want this to be one-sided. I really don't. I know that like I'm probably being a little biased. I don't want to be one-sided. I still want to learn. You know, I want this to be a real like discussion. Let's hear, you know, so if anybody, I hope Karen received direct answer to her questions. Meg said, I lost a close friend of years over this mess too, because you know my extreme views are so mean. They were giving her panic attacks. Oh my God, weirdest email of my life. Oh my God. Yeah, people are so dramatic. And it's like, the privilege of being able to like be so dramatic about such pointless bullshit just shows how much you aren't dealing with real shit in life. But I want to hear from somebody. Fuck, what was I just about to say? Oh, so before I take the next caller, I want to say on the whole true trans thing, I started off as like a true trans. I literally, when I first started to peak, I was telling everybody, I go, listen, there are truly transgender people with transgender brains. I was going around talking about transgender brains. I shit you not. And I was like, there is a very small but real portion of the population that literally have transgender brains. And those are the true trans people. All these other people are trenders. And that's what I stand against. And then I realized, and it's like how stupid that was. But then it was like, oh, somebody just came in, I think. Okay. Yeah, here, I'll finish that story in a minute. Hello, hello. All right, we have Poonam on the air, and you are live. How are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
I sure can. Thank you so much for calling in. What would you like to comment on?
How are you? It's wonderful to actually speak with you.
Thank you.
I've been following the videos, and I can't see the chat at all. First of all, let me just say that I have a neuropathy, and sometimes I get shaky. But I'm so if my voice sounds off or something, just let me know.
No, that's okay. You sound great right now.
I know, right? All right. Well, here's the thing with this whole Karen thing. Okay, Karen Davies brought up, I think, a very, very important thing, and even Kelly J. Keene said it in her trigonometry interview 2 years ago when she talked about. At the end, they said, "Well, what's the thing that's on the horizon that you haven't touched that we really need to touch?" And it's pedophilia. It's this trying to lower the age of consent and this kind of invasion into children's space. Now, I'll tell you, I'm a lesbian. I'm an auntie to 8. I have been. I am the fun person in my friends' lives, their children's lives. I'm not a mother, but I will say that I know parenting, and I know children regardless, because I have lived with weeks with 2 years old, whatever. I don't have to prove anything. But here's the thing. So pedophilia. I went to the verped side where Bailey, Cantor, and Blanchard, and all of these people that do have a very close relationship with Sasha Ayad and Stella O'Malley.
I'm gonna bring this up while you're talking about it, so we can look at it.
Yeah, if you go to their supporter page, then they have 19 people listed. Of those people, and each of these people have a little paragraph on their thoughts. Only one person on that page, a person named Sarah D. Good, and that was good of her, I like to say. She's the only person who said that we cannot support child sex relationships because though it may seem loving on the part of the adult, the child doesn't have the developmental whatever to go with it. And she's the only person. The other person was a guy named Fedorov. He didn't say that, but he did say that pedophilia is not immutable because they're trying to say minor attracted person.
That it's a sexuality.
And turn it into an orientation. Well, there's a guy in Ontario named J. Paul Fedorov who's also a verped supporter, an expert. He's on their supporters page, the experts page. along with the 15 others that I haven't mentioned, including Bailey and Cantor.
I know who we are. Oh, our
And
supporters.
and GenSpect doesn't platform him. Why doesn't GenSpect platform somebody like Fedorov, who says, "Give me your pedophiles, and I will cure them. I will change them. That this is something that should be altered." Everybody else on the VERPED site is saying, "Well, this is just the way it is, and we'll tell you how you can deal with it." And Michael Bailey's statement about the middle path kind of says the problem with the whole adult-child relationship is how it is seen in society,
Oh, wow.
not intrinsically what it is.
Wow.
He's saying that if there wasn't the secrecy around it, if there wasn't the shame around it, if you could take away coercion and pain, then children can have sex with adults in a way that is beneficial to them. Michael Bailey says that in the middle path statement.
And is this in his statement on the supporters, or where is the?
Yeah, if you want to look it up, just go to Google search. The way I find it very easily is I go to Google search and I say Michael Bailey, the middle path, and that'll take you to VERPED, where he makes where they've shared this like it's a very short 7-paragraph or something essay of his, and he starts out with 2 questions. Is it possible? Is it good to destigmatize child sex relationship? At 1,
shit.
2. Is it good to reduce the child consent age? 2. And this I'm speaking from memory because I'm techie. I'm really not techie.
It says I have it right here. It says the 2 questions are: 1, should adult-child relationships be legal or acceptable? And 2, should the age of consent be lowered? And it says it's complicated, but my answers are: 1, probably not, but probably not, but the penalties and the stigma should be much less. And for number 2, probably. So he's saying child-adult relationships should probably not be legal or acceptable, but there should be a lowering in penalties, and then the age of consent should probably be lowered. Jesus fucking Christ.
Fucking Christ.
Oh my God.
Excuse my language,
No.
everybody. Jesus fucking Mary, Joseph, and the baby.
Wow.
And this is why what Karen says is comes off as vitriol, but in effect, she's making a very important point, because I'm telling you, when you get to verped.org and you have some time to do this, you look at the people who support it. There are only 2 people there, Sarah D. Good and then J. Paul Fedorov, who I looked up afterwards. And Sarah has an organization called Something SO against sexual offense to kids. And J. Paul Fedorov has worked for 30 years in this sexual behavior clinic in Ontario. So there are people who are not platforming pedophilia, which, by the way, I have done some research goes all the way back to Kinsey. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
This is not new. This is like, and this is why it's important. It's important to keep things like AGP and their desires to invade kids. Any kind of transing of kids is wrong, because you are coming into their development, and there are like a rose that's budding, and you're like saying, "Do you see this water? Do you see this water? You need this water. This is water for you." Do you understand my analogy there?
Yeah.
And then this whole notion, like somebody just said something about transing a 2-year-old. 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, they all are coming at me. The people who have drank the Kool-Aid are coming at me and saying, "You always knew you were a lesbian." Hell no. I was a kid.
Right.
I was a kid for a very, very long time. When I thought about it, I would have a thought like, I don't really, maybe I will never have kids. Maybe I'll never get married. I never, it was never like, what gender are you?
Right.
What sexuality are you? Where
Right.
are, and they're doing this now, and they're throwing lesbians and gays under the bus because they're saying, look, 10, 30 years ago, this would have been bigoted against lesbians and gays. No, lesbians and gays never said, cure me,
Right.
fix A.
And there was no reason to, because there's no there's no path that you don't need to do anything once you're lesbian or gay. That you just it's just about choosing a partner that you're compatible with. There's no.
And let me tell you something. You don't need to do anything if you have gender dysphoria either.
Right.
You need to love the person who has a dysphoria and tell them that their body is all right. How about that? How about saying, you don't like you're feeling bad about puberty? Guess what? A lot of people feel bad about puberty. Puberty is not easy, and if it's prior to that, like you said, kids say, "I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm a fairy, I'm a
Right.
truck."
I'm a truck.
Yeah. My ex's son wanted to grow up to be a Chinese delivery boy,
Exactly.
and she was Irish something.
My son wanted to name my other son Cement Mixer. So that just goes to show
yeah.
the logical how logical kids are.
I know. My nephew, when he was about 5 years old, he told the whole story about how my grandfather died, about how my father died, to my friend, but in saying that it was his father who died.
Yeah.
And then when she and she just listened to him. She's cool, and I didn't say a word because I'm letting him talk and do his thing. And then at the end, she says, "Well, that's very sad." And he goes, "That's okay. He went to the hospital. He'll be all right." They have that's why there's consent laws. That's why we don't put them into adult prisons the way we're putting men into women's prisons and da 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 da.
Right.
There has to be clarity on this. And so for that reason, I don't want to take up too much time.
No, this has been so I've been really just captivated, but
it is so important to understand that behind this meddling into children's genitalia, there might be some nefarious thing that hung over from Kinsey, etc., from that first, from the 50s, from the 30s,
right.
It's historic.
Even John Money,
Money, yes. Please let me hear you.
Yeah, just you're right, and it's not as if these people are going to come out and be like, "Oh, here's our agenda." It's of course, and it's true. Like what you're talking about, with Karen and stuff, and people are getting mad at her saying she's nitpicking, and I get it because sometimes it does look like nitpicking. And I'd even reached out to her and said this, and I said, Karen, when I didn't have time to really follow up with watching through it all, because she's prolific, and she's very dedicated to what she's trying to uncover. And one thing about her, and the one thing that, if Karen is probably a phenomenal teacher for this reason and would have been a phenomenal parent, is that she doesn't lose sight of what she's doing. She doesn't take her eye off the ball, and she doesn't let you play any sleight of hand tricks. And it's that relentlessness, in parenting, which is so important, because then kids know mom doesn't eventually kind of let her grip up, and we just got to wait long enough till she kind of stops paying attention.
And that is why parents must be brought forward, and they're the ones who can safeguard their children.
Yes.
But at
Yes.
the same time, people like Karen who may not have kids, or people like me who may not have kids, also understand this and are right there with you. And my love for children as my love for life, it's important not to mess with life, you know? And my being disabled and going in the journey and understanding what the real desires of what the real goals of the medical industry and big pharma are not to the health of people. Put this now on a grand scale and direct it towards children. I find Karen's work interesting, exciting, and I support it completely. And I also want to bring up the fact that it's cultural. She's an African American woman, and so because of that, she has, you know, like there is not only racism, but you know, recently this Jane Campion, who I love, made that ridiculous remark about Serena Williams and her sister.
What'd he say?
She won the Best Director award for her recent movie, and she said, "Well, and I play against the boys, not like you, Serena, and you know, I have to play but it's just like, why would she bring these two women into the? I'm getting off track, but take a look at it. But my point is that there is as an Indian woman, navigating this landscape of the United States of America for 60 years, I know what it is. There is that element to it too. But the fact of the matter is, Blanchard, Bailey, Cantor, all of these guys are really behind this immutability. Cantor goes on speaking over and over about the brain scans that he did. I keep trying to find a replication of his study, and I can't find it. So if anybody speaks to GENSPECT or to Cantor, ask them, was this study replicated? Because he has this one study where he says that the brains of pedophiles show more gray matter or less gray matter. I know definitely not connectivity between the front and the back. So I'm taking up too much of your time.
No, Poonan, thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in. That was really powerful, and that was really. I feel like this is really supposed to be for like everybody, but I kind of feel like it's like secretly selfish so that everyone can like get me up to speed with what's going on.
No, this is how we have to get each other up to speed. Like, for example, this friend of mine, she's Leah. With this whole Leah Thomas thing, she said to me, "Well, Leah Thomas's speed has dropped since he was playing with the boys." And I was like, "Well, my friend calls Leah her, but I call him he." And I said, well, like he doesn't have to try. And I did hear somewhere somebody said that Leah Thomas himself said that with swimming with girls is easy and it's like he can just cruise through the water.
Well, think about it. He was swimming top speed and ranking like 430, and he's now swimming slower and ranking first. Like
exactly. But I'm trying to find that quote so that I could give it to her, but I can't find it. So if anybody knows where it is, you can. My name is POONAM, and the email is POOAPP.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Poonam is at Gmail, so POONAMIS
at Gmail. Great.
And I welcome anybody to contact me on this, because we need to. Thank you, darling. A little bit to the other. Yeah, you got it.
Is
right
it backwards? Oh.
Yeah. And I want to just specially say to you, Twisted Female, is that you, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What is your name? I can't forget.
Brittany.
Huh?
Brittany.
I want to tell you that I adore the way that you interview. And I really, I've watched a lot of you, and I thank you very much. And there's so many good people here, and we have to keep supporting each other. We all have our, we have to bring our own light, so that we can bring all our lights together.
Listen, I always say that's why I try to make this a platform, for all of us to use, because this isn't just me. What would this platform be if it weren't for everybody who comes and watches and supports and comments and adds? I learn from you guys. People give me content ideas.
Can I just tell you one thing before I leave on pedophilia?
Sure.
Kinsey, despite what the movie, if you saw the movie about Kinsey took copious notes of a pedophile who abused children over a 30-year period and used that as part of his data on human sexuality.
Wow.
Okay? So with that, I say namaste.
Namaste.
And peace and love, and let the highest good of all of our lights come shining through.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Pranana. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you too.
Take
Appreciate
care.
all of us. Bye now. Let me get back to listening to the others.
Take care. All right, guys. Jaleesa wants to go on. Guys, I have to go to bed. Jaleesa, hold that thought for 1 second. I have to pee again. And before I pee, Jaleesa, I'm gonna let you in. I'm sorry, right after I get back, but I want to say one thing about the whole mother's thing and everything else, and I want to be clear. I need to be so clear. On the one hand, I do believe that there is certain aspects of parenting that you can't understand until you've been in it. I have a huge lag. Oh, I know why. That you can't understand until you've been in it. With that being said, so there's just certain technical things and certain things about parenting that no one can explain to you until you become a parent, and what it's like having to guide children and talk to children. With that being said, this might be a controversial take, but I'm going to make it anyway, and I've made this before. I believe, and you guys might say that I'm sexist or whatever, I believe that every single woman has the spirit of motherhood in them, whether they've given birth or not. And I think that it manifests in every single woman in some way or another. For women who don't give birth, either because they choose not to or because they are unable to, and I've seen this, that maternal spirit manifests in other ways. So for some women, that's being a teacher. For some women, that's loving and caring for other women as a midwife or as a birth worker. I've seen a lot of women work as birth workers, and they literally mother mothers. They're the mother that mothers really need during that time. Other women fight for trafficked girls. Other women build things that people need, or even just love their nieces and nephews, or look out for the kids in their neighborhood. So one thing that I believe, and one thing that we really tried to reaffirm in midwifery circles, is re-raising the village. That parenting is never meant to be just for a mother and a father. It's not just a one person or even a 2-person job. It's the job of the village. It's the job of the whole community. It's something that we come together, and it's all of our responsibility. And there's this concept that the children are the responsibility of everybody in the community. That if one of our children is suffering, it's all of our business. If one of our children is unsafe, it's all of our business. If one of our or if any of our children in the community are going through something or facing a danger, we all are responsible, and we all take action in some way. And, you know, so when I say things that, like, for example, like Karen kind of like, I think her take was a little bit just was not informed by actually, like, you know, clearly missing the experience of actually what it's like to like raise a child and be the parent of a child going through something like that. With that being said, she still brings, you know, that is so much of what she has, the way that she's fighting for kids. She's fighting like a mother. That's how that's how women who haven't given birth still manifest themselves as mothers. Like, I really believe that. And I don't know if you guys are going to say that's sexist or whatever. I do. I believe that, like, every woman manifests as a mother in some way. And that's not always by giving birth to your own children, you know, and it's not always by taking care of kids either. You know, it can be taking care of other women, other people, and fighting for them and protecting them. And the way that she's fighting relentlessly and putting herself in between, you know, her and that danger, that's something that a mother does. You know, she didn't need to give birth to invoke that spirit of being willing to self-sacrifice on behalf of children. So I'm going to pee really quick, and then Jaleesa, I'm going to let you in. Let me put on a video while I pee. So this is such a long stream. Luckily, this is like my day off. God, I don't even want to bring up the case thing again. I was like thinking about, but I don't, we'll do that another time. Let me do, I'll put on a GENSPECT video. How about that? We'll put on, let's see. Oh, hey, recognize that video. Let's see. Hey, there's Aaron. We love Aaron. Right here, we'll put this on.
It's one thing to have competent healthcare providers, and it's another thing to have competent healthcare providers that actually understand what you're going through.
Folks makes it so easy to get prescriptions and your medications. You know, I love a good delivery and just straight to home.
It's everywhere, guys. This is what we're talking about. It's everywhere.
Right, we're going to speak in a second to the founder of a brand new support group for parents who are concerned about children choosing to pursue a gender transition. This is a mother who is working with a new group, and she's told The Telegraph her teenage son was, her words, groomed into taking hormone blockers, and she blames the BBC and schools. All of this, of course, comes after the landmark Kira Bell court ruling, which we covered last week, I think it was, which effectively banned the NHS from giving hormone drugs to teens, and the Mayor forced out a ruling which gives so-called gender-critical views legal protection. So joining me right now to discuss this, we've got Stella O'Malley, who's a psychotherapist, author, and founder of GENSPECT, who is joining us from Ireland, and Katie John Wen, a trans person and gender commentator. Let me start with you, if I may. Stella, what is happening here?
Well, the reason that we set up GENSPECT was because so many parents were coming to different parent groups all over the world, and they were all saying the same thing, that they were unhappy with the medical treatment that they were receiving and the therapeutic treatment that their children were receiving, because they felt their children were being fast-tracked. And these were generally children who were autistic, had ADHD, had an awful lot of trauma, had been isolated. These were really children with an awful lot of distress. And all the parents who come to our parents' meetings were saying the other issues aren't being addressed. They're not seeing these children in a holistic way. And what they're just seeing is once the word gender comes into the situation, the kids are being told to medically transition and medically transition fast.
All right, so this is Stella O'Malley. So for whoever, you know, anybody who hasn't seen her yet, let me check up with the chat. I guess I will watch this video and then I'll probably close the stream up. Oh, Jaleesa's on. No, hold on. No, I'm going to talk to her really quick. And then Jaleesa, you're going to be the last person. And then we'll do this video and then we'll call it a day. Oh, we still have Carmen's Galaxy. Oh, good. Sorry. Hold on. Let me see. Hey, how are you? Oh, you look so beautiful in that light. Hold on. Let me switch you. Let me put you up on here. I want to get. Let me get the video.
This is so exciting.
I'm so glad to have you. Thank you so much for calling. Oh, I don't know if you caught, if you were on the stream. You probably were when I said I got your email, and it was so lovely. It really was.
Yes. You're the first YouTuber I've ever reached out to, but I was like, I'm just so fucking inspired that I was like, I went searching. I was like, her information has to be out there. Like, I don't know how this works. So I just went to your page and I was like, email me. And I was like, okay.
That made me so happy. I don't think, you can't understand how much that really, really, really like just makes me feel like this is all worth it. And I'm so grateful. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I want to try to get you. Okay, there we go. Yay. Okay, yay. All right, everybody. This is Jaleesa. All right, my dear. What would you like to comment on?
I feel very strongly that this is a huge eugenics movement. Like, underneath everything, it's like, okay, hear me out. So they take a bunch of very, very clearly, blatantly mentally ill people. This is a big deal. Like, your sex is wrong. That's a huge disorder. So they take these people and they cure them and sterilize them, and so they can't produce, and they're in huge amounts of medical debt, and so they're not going to be able to go through like the true adoption process. So they're probably going to have to adopt all the kids out of the foster system if they ever want children. Like, look at how neatly wrapped up that package is. And they make billions, trillions maybe in the process, and they also look like really virtuistic people in the meantime. The legislators, the doctors, the parents who said, my 3-year-old in a dress is a girl now, like, it's sick. And so when all of these children grow up and sue the shit out of these people, we're gonna see what happens. But I really genuinely believe that someone way, way up there was like, we can take care of this very easily.
Yeah, and it's targeting, gay and lesbian people. It really is.
And mentally ill children.
And effeminate boys and gender nonconforming children. Effeminate boys, masculine girls.
Yes. And so it was your channel that, so I was like having some trouble with my sacral chakra, and one of your videos, in the moment that I was looking up how to unblock it and what should I eat and how should I do yoga and whatever, you were like, we need to love our bodies and feel at home in our bodies. And I was just like, ding, ding, ding. Like, it just clicked, and like you put it together for me. And I was like, okay, like, I was never confused or anything, but like I had my own like sexual issues. And if you can feel at home in your skin, like the whole world opens up for you if you can just love yourself, like for all the little flaws and scars and your bum knee and that mole you don't like, like, just thank your body for getting you up every morning and getting you from point A to point B. And it doesn't matter what genitals you have, these are the ones you have. Love them.
Right. And just the fact that, like, as living organisms, not only how rare it is that we actually get a crack at living at this time, at this corner of the universe, on this planet that just so happens to be in just the right zone to be able to support life, and that you just so happen to be so lucky to be born a human being with consciousness and hands and to be a part of all of this. And it's like, it's gonna go by so fast, and it does, and it ends, and it does eventually end, and we're resilient, but life is so fragile, and to even want to play with it.
And like, scary. I'm not really religious, I'm more spiritual, but what if there was a God? Like, what you're doing is an affront to him. Like, he made art. by you and you just chopped it up. Like, what if you just like offended God, you know? But I feel like none of these trans people are Christian, or probably even believe in a God. I think that some spiritual work would do them good.
Well, actually, you know, interestingly, and you bring that up, Iran is actually becoming a global destination for transgender surgeries, which is crazy. You would think that would it make sense, right? Because it's a very culturally conservative country. However, the reason is because being homosexual is illegal and it is culturally outlawed. But there is one caveat. If you are a homosexual woman, if you become a man, then you can marry a woman. And vice versa. They will allow you to trans, and then you can be in a heterosexual relationship, and then that's acceptable.
This is delusional.
They are forcing homosexuals to trans themselves.
That's worse than conversion therapy. It's physical conversion therapy.
Horrible.
Oh my God.
That's horrible.
Who's profiting off this? Like, what is motivating these people? That's why in my mind it comes back to eugenics, because what is motivating these people? Nobody wants to help people, and nobody wants to help the crazy left wing feel comfortable in their bodies. These people who are in charge of all this stuff, they don't give a shit about these people. Right. And they never did before. So I don't know why they're like, trans healthcare, like, I don't know. I want to find out who's lobbying for it, and like,
I think it's a couple things, and I do think like the pedophilia thing actually has something to do with it, and it's not just tinfoil hat theory, but it's like you think about you have like, you know, a whole group of AGPs, and it's growing. We do know that it's about 3% of Western men in the West are AGP, and that's a huge number. 3% is a huge number for something that should be so fringe, and that's growing. And what,
like 9 million.
Well, transing kids, exactly. That means there's millions, and transing kids now gives them. It means that they're gonna, you know, there's gonna be more. I think the issue that a lot of trans people complain about is that they don't have enough sexual prospects, or, you know, available type of partners who would, you know, but and I've heard a lot of trans people say, oh, I usually end up going with other trans people. So you have these powerful AGP men who are like, they just want more, you know, maybe they're into transing I don't know. I mean, yeah. And then there's transhumanism is a big part of it. And I think a lot of it is experimenting on the bodies of people, of kids, seeing what we can do with reproduction, what we can do if we tweak the endocrine system, what we can create.
So pissed. Like, I don't have any kids, and I'm not married, and I'm not 35, so I cannot get a hysterectomy. I can't get my tubes even tied. But if I went in there tomorrow and said, I've been really confused all my life, I think I'm looking for a phalloplasty, they would sign me up for a fucking hysterectomy tomorrow.
If you were 18, they would do it. If you went in there and wore, like, you know, some basketball shorts and like a backwards hat and just were like, call me Aiden.
Give me a new license, give me a new birth certificate, chop up my arm, roll it up, give me a permanent catheter, please, and call me Steve. Like, and they would just do it. But if I'm like, no, I know I don't want any children, like, I'm a lesbian, it wouldn't be me anyway, like, I don't want to push babies out, please do it. Like, no. They don't care how bad my PMS is. They don't care if I have endometriosis. They don't care. They don't care until I have like my husband's permission or a couple of kids. And that's insane, but you're doing it to children. And whenever I kind of get too passionate and start yelling and like throwing my hands around about this situation, so like it scares people away from having honest conversation with me. They're like, all right, Jaleesa, settle down. Like, you know.
No, because it almost feels so urgent, because it's like, how many children is too many? And it's like, even a conversation that I saw between Exolansic and Karen, excellence, because like how many dead children are going to be enough or too many that they're going to want to now put their foot down? Is it 1? Is it 10? Is it 100?
It'll be when it's one of theirs.
Right.
When one of their conservative kids decide, you know what I mean? And that's another way. Like if you really just looked at it, you would see that like conservative kids are not doing this.
Right.
They aren't. Go check out that side of TikTok. Like they're not doing that. So it's like 100% social contagion. Why would you change laws based on that? Change laws and permanently
And so
disfigure.
quickly change laws. It usually takes us forever to change laws. Like my God, for like actual, you know, criminal justice reform. It takes. Do you know how long it took to change on the books the crack disparity between the crack sentencing laws versus cocaine? Even after we'd all agreed that was fucked up, it still took like 40 years.
Yeah, people finished their sentences. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
It didn't.
And now but you know, we can, you know, rush forward, you know, a 12-year-old child's ability to have a voluntary double mastectomy.
Yeah, but whatever. Good job, Texas, for like really quickly shutting that down.
Yeah, goodness, seriously. I hope everyone else follows suit. Oh Lord. Hey Ella Anthrophobia is in here.
I love that Texas is a purple state.
Yeah, that they're like split.
Yeah, like completely 50-50 at this point.
It's crazy. I think that's like gonna start becoming more common. But oh my goodness, Jaleesa, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate like all of your support and your really kind messages. I see them all. I like, you know, sometimes I'll be like scrolling through, and I don't have a chance to respond to everybody's stuff, but like I see them and they mean a lot, and I really appreciate you. Emails.
Well, you're inspiring.
Thank you. And they come, you know, and hopefully, I'm gonna like keep, you know, I keep doing this. I actually liked having the phone number was good too, and having the Zoom. So every so often I do like, you know, a little call-in show, and I'm gonna keep it going. So feel free to, you know, come back and, you know, stay in touch. It's a good community. It's a really good community.
I feel like we should get together in person one time.
Yeah.
Like
that's what we were all talking about too. It's just like I don't know, there needs to be more in person. You know, it's like the internet's so great, but it just doesn't replace that kind of like meeting of the minds, in person, tangible experience of, you know, brainstorming. But Jaleesa, thank you so much. It was so good to hear from you. Thank you for adding your voice.
Of course.
Have a really, really good evening. And I'm going to start to wrap up this stream. So I think you might be the last one. Oh, there's one more person behind you. All right. Carmen's Galaxy's the last person. And then I got to start to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Elisa. Talk to you soon. All right. All right, Carmen. Your last one. I'm getting tired. I think that's what it is. All righty. Hello. Oh, wait. It says connecting to audio and can't hear me yet. Hello. Hey, Carmen. How are you?
This is Lady Studio.
How are you? Hey, Lady Studio. How are you? Oh, it was so cool seeing you in DC or New York. You were DC or New York?
Yeah, I'm in DC.
So you were at the DC thing with everybody. That's right. Oh, it was just so cool seeing like everybody together. How are you?
Sorry, say it again. I didn't hear the last.
Oh, can you hear me? Oh, I was just saying, it was cool seeing you guys all together, connected down when Kelly J came down.
Oh yeah, it was awesome meeting people and seeing people in real life. Just YouTube name, like I met Pinwheel Art, I met Karen, Kelly J, several other people, but I think those were the two people that I knew their names on YouTube. So
right.
Yeah, it was really passionate, and I'm so glad we didn't have any opposition from the TRA community.
Right. Yeah, didn't you say that you were kind of like prepared for pushback?
Yep, Second Amendment.
Yeah, good, good. As you should. Good. Fully support that. Especially, I mean, I know I've heard a lot of like people from the UK say that, they don't want anything to do with guns, and that's fair. But if you're in the US, then as a woman, I think that every woman should, be armed. So,
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do anything lethal on me, but I fully support bringing protection to those things. 'Cause I've seen videos of women talking about they've been assaulted, had cigarettes burned on their skin, they've sustained blows to the head, and I just it's I
that's
don't know,
crazy.
it's unbelievable that it's gotten this far,
It is.
and
It is. It's crazy that it's gone from just like, let's just be compassionate. People are different, are coming from different things to like, we'll literally fuck you up if you don't say what we want you to say. Like, we'll literally like fuck you up physically and destroy your life. And you'll be the bad guy in the whole story when they report on it. Like, it's crazy.
yeah, it is. It's like if you want to try to hit me, you can hit me, but I'm gonna marinate my head and tuck.
It's funny. Oh, excuse me. So what are your thoughts on everything that's going on that has been discussed?
Well, actually, I came on here because I think you had said in a comment that if another event were planned that you would come down. So I was like, let me just get in
Yeah.
on Zoom a couple minutes and like say like we should like put something together in DC. I'm horrible at planning and I'm super busy with work and my music project, but I was like, let me just say something quick, see if she's interested in planning an event in DC, another speaker's corner.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know DC that well, and I'm so happy to like participate with planning. I don't know that I could like lead anything just because with, it's just me and all my four kids, and my schedule's so crazy, and it's so hard for me to really like things can always change at a dime for me, you know what I mean? Like one of my kids gets sick or that
Of
sort of
course.
thing. But yeah, it's really hard for me to travel too. Um so like going out of state, maybe if I could maybe. It's always a maybe. That's why on the day of with the Kelly J. Keene thing, I was like, wait, like I actually have the day free, I'll come down now. Like, where is everybody? But it's so hard for me to actually plan stuff. But yeah, no, if somebody else wants to like take the reins with it, I'm so happy to I'd be so happy to, publicize it and help out with any of like the more peripheral stuff, and definitely like try to make it down if I could. Yeah, I think I really agree. I think that, the more that I don't know, maybe it would be cool to start, to get a resource together, a way to just kind of connect with like local groups, like in every city. People can start coming up with just local groups and rad friend groups and gender critical groups, and start doing more in person type stuff. I think that that's really powerful too.
Yeah, I agree. I guess my thing is how would we plan? See, I'm not on Facebook. So are there groups like on Getter or something where we can plan something perhaps?
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I don't know. I think the way is to like maybe connect if you want to do something that's in DC. Um, I'll just say, here, how about anybody who's listening right now, is anybody in DC that would, be able to connect with that sort of thing? Um,
I can also travel because I go back and forth to New York a lot and Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably, I mean, I could definitely plan something for Philly. I just don't know about being able to plan stuff out of state. I could plan something in, like in my own city. Yeah, that sort of stuff. I'm honestly like, I gotta be honest, I'm a little bit like brain dead right now, I think, from this stream. So it's hard for me to kind of brainstorm this sort of thing. But if you want to send me an email to a slightly twisted female at slightly twisted female gmail.com, when I'm a little bit more, rested and stuff, and I can think about what sort of resources we have. Yeah, I can, we can connect more about that. And if anybody else has any ideas and wants to connect with me or email me, that's great too. But yeah, let's definitely stay in touch about it.
Yeah, I just wanted to pitch it to you, not plan anything over a Zoom meeting, but
yeah,
just to put it out there. But no, I really appreciate everything that you're doing, and I've learned a lot since I started watching your videos. I think like January or something like that.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate everything.
Thank you. And listen, and I see a lot that you do just throughout, throughout the community, even just like, just being so supportive, and you contribute a lot to the conversations, and it's like, and I want people to know too, like, especially as my channel's growing, I am now getting more comments just from a lot of new types, people and stuff. But then there are some people like you, Lady Studio, and like a lot of others that, who I always see, and you're just so, you're always like contributing, and it was so cool to see you at the DC meetup. And I just want you guys to know, like, literally our platforms wouldn't matter if it weren't for all that you guys do with, your thoughtful comments, and all that sort of stuff stimulates the algorithm that now, then YouTube shows the videos to more people because you guys are interacting with it, because you guys are commenting such thoughtful stuff that compels other people to want to respond to what you're saying. So, I also want to say thank you to you, and thank you to, everybody else who's been really supportive and has just helped me kind of grow my channel, and is also supporting the other content creators and other women who are doing things. I know, for me especially, I learn a lot from you guys. I'm really inspired by the community, so I really appreciate everything you guys do also.
Yeah, me too. I definitely appreciate the support and the love and the encouragement that, everybody in this community is giving. So, but no, I just wanted to pitch that to you real quick. I don't want to take any more of your time. But I'll send you an email.
Yeah, send me an email. I'm like, you know what it is? I think my blood sugar is just really low, and I'm just like kind of like brain dead right now, so I can't think. But send me an email, and I'll be able to like look into it more, and I'm sure we'll be able to pull something together or figure out something that works. We'll definitely, I agree, especially as it's getting nicer out. We'll come up with something. I'm sure of it. Thank you so much, Lady Studio. I appreciate you calling in. It was really nice hearing from you.
Yeah, and I hope you feel better.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope my voice comes back. All right. Thank you so much, Lady Studio. I'll reach out to you. Yeah, send me an email so I at least have your email, and then we'll just be in touch about it.
All right, we'll do. Take care.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. So I am. All right. I guess. Let's see. All right, let's see. Much love. All right, guys, I'm getting a little bit tired. Let me see how much longer this one is. Let's we'll just finish. Let's hear what from Stella O'Malley. We'll give her the last word. I don't even know if this is like good representation, but here we go.
And because so many different, I work as a facilitator in some of these parent support group meetings, because so many parents were saying the same thing about the same type of child, as in a quirky, awkward, distressed child who's spending an awful lot of time online, it didn't make sense, and we thought we should harness all the voices of all the different parents groups and create one organisation that speaks for those parents who feel they're silenced because they're afraid to speak out, because their children are highly vulnerable and very distressed, and the parents don't feel that they're receiving the most appropriate care that they could get. And they're certainly not receiving depth work. They're receiving a very shallow version of their problems.
Okay, so is this something that you recognise, what Stella's just been explaining, that if a child so much as mentions a slight confusion about gender, then they're almost...
They got an AGP on here. Oh, I like how it's like we all have to sit there and pretend like he doesn't look fucking ridiculous. Oh, how about you, Gloria? What are your thoughts? He's like, oh, well, I've been thinking about it all my life, and I think that, transing kids is a good thing, and it's, for each kid, you gotta take him one at a time and let the child tell you what they need. Like, oh, yes, Gloria, what's a great idea? It's like, yes, Daddy Pig.
Fast-tracked into this pathway in terms of looking at potential transitions. Is that fair? Is that what's happening?
I don't think it may be people's perception. It's not a reality because there is no such thing as a fast track.
Yo, first of all, what the fuck? What the fuck is he wearing? What the fuck is he wearing, you guys? Yo, how does anybody take this shit seriously? Like, come on. Sir, you look fucking stupid as shit. Stop it. Go put some clothes on and knock it off. Knock it the fuck off.
Within the NHS, it's a 6-year journey, and it's a 3-year waiting list. So you can't really be fast-tracked on a 3-year waiting list to even get in the door.
That's the issue, right there, and that's what I wanted to talk about when Poonam was on, but I didn't want to cut her off. This is the issue. Or no, was it when Poonam was on? No, I think it was the person before her. This is the issue, and this is why transgender people are motivated to be gender critical. And I want you guys to really hear me, okay? Because this is probably the last coherent thing I'm gonna have for the day, because I'm like exhausted. The reason why transgender people or trans-identifying people and AGPs are compelled towards being gender critical is not because they want to protect kids from the trans movement or from being transed. If that happens, if some kids are saved, well then that's great, and they can chalk it up to as a happy, side effect. The real reason is because it's multiple fold. On the one hand, the NHS is so overloaded now, so insanely overloaded, and there's so many people signing up that they are not able to get the treatments that they want, treatments for their friends, and they believe that there is like a true trans versus trans trenders. And they see that the people who they think are trans trenders are the ones who are most likely to desist and become detrans, and then to later complain about what's going on and draw a lot of negative attention. They want to gatekeep trans so they can say, oh, so no, all of these scarce resources, these scarce free resources, we want to control who gets it. All these other people are just, pretending and da-da-da-da. We really want, to make sure that, it's our crew and everybody who gets access to the NHS, gets access to the surgeries, and we don't want more people getting this stuff who are just being influenced because it's trendy, because they're the ones who are going to complain that they got hurt, and that's bad for them. And that's bad. And the more the people, and again, it's like the more that you have random guys coming in and I'm like, oh, I'm trans too, it's starting to draw a lot of attention, and they didn't have this kind of attention before. Before, everyone just took them at their word. And they're losing that luxury, and they see that. This is strategic. Make no mistake, the whole true trans is very strategic. fucking look at this guy. For Christ's sake, sir, get yourself together. What the fuck are you wearing? Well, what do we got going on here? What is that, like a like what? What is it? It's like, so he's got like a sundress over, what is that? Like a wife beater shirt, and then like a. Have you brushed your hair ever? Have you been out? He looks like he's like a leather bag. Sir, first of all, you need to be more concerned about your SPF suntan lotion and brushing your hair. And what the fuck are you? Holy God, get yourself together, sir. You are on television. My God.
I also run a parent support group for parents and partners of trans, and
he runs a parent support group. Well, believe it or not, I also advise parents on what they should do with their trans children. And everyone's like, oh, stunning and brave, sir. Oh, carry on. Yes, please do take our children alone in the room and teach them about gender and sex. Ah, yes, sir. I mean, ma'am. This is ma'am. I apologize. Like, come on. It's like, is anybody just kind of like, yeah, this is a little fucking weird. Why are we teaching people to not listen to their internal alarm? Everyone's internal alarm should be like blasting right now. Like, for fuck's sake. Someone said, I love your British accent. No, you don't. You guys are just making fun of me. My accent is like ridiculous. It's so bad. Oh, God. Here we go.
There's no fixed view within that group. People are welcome within that group to say, I have a problem with my kid transitioning. And we give them space to discover their child's journey and their own. So, but yeah, I don't think their fast track is a thing for the majority of people. It's the opposite.
So Stella, what do you think to that then? Kate is saying that there is no such thing as a fast track route into transition.
This girl has to. I wonder how many times she had to practice calling him Kate with a straight face. Ah, yes, Kate here. Lovely lass. She's saying that they're not fast tracking the kids. What are you thinking, Stella? Like. Come on, bro. What the fuck is he wearing? I'm like losing control. Like this stream's about to just slowly like deteriorate into like super unprofessional. Oh Christ, I can't.
I think there's a huge issue because what happens is an awful lot of these children are not being seen by the NHS, and then when they're finally seen after 3 years of waiting, they suddenly get seen for 3 sessions, just like Kira Bell did. After 3 sessions, she was prescribed puberty blockers. She was deeply distressed. She had a lot of different problems, and yet after 3 sessions was prescribed puberty blockers. So that's what I mean by fast track. The waiting list is appalling, and it shouldn't be happening. But one of the
Here, Stella just said the waiting list is appalling. It shouldn't be happening. Hey, Stella, but again, I want this to stay neutral. But Stella, the waiting list is probably going to save lives. It's going to save lives. If a girl has to wait 2-3 years, that could be enough time to get her disenchanted with this whole thing. The waiting list is appalling. For how? Why? Because people aren't getting surgeries fast enough? That's a tell. I mean, listen, and I didn't know anything about. I want you guys to know I genuinely did not know pretty much anything about Stella going into this. I'm just responding to what's in front of me. I really didn't know. I really don't know. But that's a tell. This is the middle ground that they're talking about. This is the moderate, and again, it's just looking a lot like true trans to me, and true trans is insidious.
Reasons that there is a waiting list is because there's a misconception that only gender specialists can speak to children who have distress about gender, when actually any competent and qualified.
Sam Salamander Gus. Sam Salamander goes, he clearly reads his mail is not passing well at all. Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with you. Yeah, he is giving off a little mail. He looks like my fucking like Uncle Ron after he's been on a bender for like 2.5 weeks. Yeah, he is reading a little mail. Yeah, I'll agree with you there.
Qualified therapist could have a very good relationship and make a huge difference to somebody who has gender-related distress. And this specialization, this idea that only the gender...
Maybe I just don't understand. Okay, so For All Fantastic says, my private clients aren't being seen on the NHS for months for real conditions. So the waiting list is for like all stuff? I thought that the waiting list that they were talking about was just for like trans stuff. So maybe I'm wrong. Dahlia Pardon says, honestly, I hate the stereotypical name changes. Yeah, like, bro. I have a name from birth that is considered traditional male, but I'm female. If the new names bring them closer to womanhood, what's that say about me? Yeah, exactly, because it's all just about cliches and stereotypes. For All Fantastic says it's both. Oh, okay. Well, that could be. Then that could be what she means. We'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Stella could be saying that the NHS waiting lists just for people with legitimate conditions is what's problematic. NHS has been cut by conservatives by over 10 years now.
Therapist. And may I point out, there isn't a legislated, recognised degree or master's that will actually give you the kind of the accreditation as a gender specialist. It's a fairly easy course. I've done it myself. It's fairly basic. There isn't any hard, difficult kind of route into becoming a gender specialist. And yet people are waiting 3 years, 4 years to see these so-called specialists. And then
they literally, if anybody has watched Isaac's phone call to his gender therapist, and he kind of like grills her about like her credentials and stuff, she's like, I've done a lot of workshops. Okay. I will have you know, I've done a lot of trainings, even a whole weekend one. So don't you fucking question me about my credentials as a gender therapist. I've done those packets, and I even colored in all of the optional crayon work. So, don't fucking question me about whether or not I can tell you about gender. Like, it is. It's all like all bullshit is what I'm trying to say.
Then after 3 sessions with them, they receive puberty blockers. So that's a massive issue. Can I just say that I do find that there's one thing that's being said at the parent support groups that I'm meeting. And one thing that the parent support groups are saying is that they can finally tell the truth, and that they've been at other parent support groups where they're told, without any kind of equivocation, they're told, you need to support your child, because if you don't support your child, they might die by suicide. And if they do that, that will be all your fault. And actually, anybody who knows anything about suicide, and if you do know anything about suicide, go and get, help if you have any issues around it, and certainly seek professional help. But you wouldn't ever say that to somebody, because it's an inappropriate thing to say, because actually distress is wider than that and it's bigger than that, and you need to be very careful about using words like that, because it'll be the wrong and inappropriate and almost suggestible thing to young children to hear that. So
that's a good point. So she said it would be a suggestible thing. That's true. And I think all this stuff, I think a lot of kids end up manifesting these things, and some of it is manipulative. Not that they're intending to be manipulative, but manipulative in the way that like toddlers are manipulative. If they realize that they can cry and get you to do something, then they're going to cry to get you to do something. Whereas before it was just a natural reflex. If kids are tuning into the fact that they're saying, oh, one way, like they're hearing stories of parents like, yeah, I thought my child was suicidal and they could kill themselves. And so that's when I decided, yeah, we gotta go forward with this. I am not losing my kid. Someone hears that, is like, oh, No, yeah, wow, I must be really distressed too. And it all kind of manifests. And then they start to realize that maybe that's the way to get what they want. And again, it's not always like the kid's just this little devious wanting to, like, be fucked up. But it's like when you want something so bad, and again, suggestion is powerful. And you start to, like, it just kind of manifests itself, and kids are told that this is the process of that gender dysphoria. And it's like, well, what is gender dysphoria too? And that looks different for every kid. And then every kid is trying to look for, be like, well, if I have gender dysphoria, then I'm supposed to be feeling these things. And do I? And they start to look for it.
There's a narrative out there that parents need to always support their child to medically transition, even if that child has autism, even if that child has been bullied and ostracized and has spent an inordinate time online because they have no friends and they have nothing else in their life. Even then, those children are being told that the best thing they could do is transition as fast as possible. And their biggest problem is...
Can we just look at Kate for a second? Can we just be like really, really like... Hold on. Can I... This is the unprofessional part of the stream. Come on, bro. Come on. You really are like, all right, I'm going on national TV today, so I need to pick out something to wear. And I put this on. He's like, that's the one. That's what I'm going to wear. That's it. I'm going to dress up like a fucking 12-year-old girl and try to fucking sound like I'm a sane human being on international TV. What the fuck are you wearing, sir? Why didn't you brush your hair, sir? Why do you look like a tomato? Sorry, guys. We have now entered the stupid part of the stream.
The waiting list. Rather than, why don't we see a therapist and speak about all your issues? And why don't we go look at this through a kind of a wider perspective so that we can help you in your entirety, rather than just thinking all you are is a walking gender identity and there's nothing else to you, because most people are much more than that and much wider than that.
Let me ask you briefly, if I may. I've got to say, when I was growing up, I don't remember there being so many children that wanted to change gender. And it seems recently that this has really become a big thing. Like we were speaking, I think it was last week, in terms of how the numbers have quite dramatically increased. What is driving this?
Well, there's something was described in 2014, the transgender tipping point, the point at which the first trans person graced the front of it.
I like how they're not panning back to him. They're like, let's just stay on this attractive woman. We're not subjecting our viewers to more of this fucking guy who's engaging with his fetish before our eyes on international television. We're not doing it. We're going to stay here as long as we can before we have to pan over.
Time magazine covers, being seen trans in media, trans in TV, whether it was good or bad.
God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Wow, do we get to this point? We're in a clown world. We're in a clown world. Like people have to pretend like this isn't a fucking joke. Oh, like, my God. This is, oh my God.
Ad media was neither here nor there, but being visible made a lot of people notice that that's how they felt on the inside. There's always been trans people. That goes back through centuries of different cultures and all kinds of things. What we do have now that is different are medical options. We have legal laws. Those things weren't present in the past. But I'll pick up something that Stella said that I would agree with as well, which is people don't always expect trans people to agree with people who are also being critical of it. But one of the biggest issues is the lack of well-being, mental health, psychotherapeutic support services. When I began to transition, it was one of the compulsory things. You had to go into 3 months therapy.
Sir, you're not answering the question. So you're saying because now, like, the law, because it's more, so what? It was just people were always trans. This really bizarre thing that we don't see anywhere else in nature amongst other mammals is just, it's always been there. Really, Kate? Is that what you think, Kate? Is that what it is? Oh, okay. Okay. So what kind of transitioning did you do, sir? What kind of transition path were you on? I am very confused.
That's not a compulsory thing anymore because there isn't even the provision for it. The mental health should be following and backing up what there is with physical health, which is the 18-week maximum wait time. You should be able to get access to mental support within a
18-week maximum wait time for what? And also, he's saying, you're saying, oh, at least before we had to have 3 months of 3 months of therapy before you can go invert your penis and charge the taxpayer hundreds of thousands of dollars. 3 months. They're not even doing that anymore. Did away with that. Good Lord.
in 18 weeks. It just doesn't exist either. So you don't even get support while you're considering transition. You just get this massive delay. And there needs to be more support services. And the comorbidity with things like ADHD, with things like autism, they are considered by the psychiatrist. And it was considered when I transitioned. It was one of the questions they asked you.
Oh, yeah, they asked me during my intake process, and I told her I do have some problems with my attention span, and they did consider it, but they decided that no matter, we get $100,000, and they let me get breast implants within 3 months' time. Yeah, I didn't, they considered it. They considered it that the lady, the gender clinic person who had the weekend training camp. Yeah, I know, this is some real good gatekeeping, guys. You guys are killing it.
In the interviews, do you have these other things going on? So they were checking for those issues, but I think they're overwhelmed with the massive demand. My city, Norwich, they were treating around 100 new trans patients every year, and it has definitely gone up. We know the statistics.
Sean, why don't call in? Sean Thomas says Stella's fighting for my kid and for thousands of other kids around the world. I want to hear from you. I don't want this to become like an echo chamber. I'll cut this off. I'll let you be the last one. Call in. Call in. What's the number? 215-822-9105, or call in on the I just don't expect me to talk because I'm brain dead right now. But just call in. Let me see. Oh, I closed the did I close the app? Let's see. Hold on. I will. Is he still in here? Call. Let's see. Where did he go? Sean Thomas. I do. Well, you're absolutely appalled by this lynch mob. You're all a bloody disgrace to the gender critical movement. What do you mean a lynch mob? Asking questions isn't a lynch mob. Listen, I said I might have been wrong about what Stella said. I already said I don't know a lot about her, period. I really don't. So I have no personal misgivings. People are speaking from their experiences. This is not, and I've also said, listen, and I do, and my number one thing, and I want to make this clear, I understand dealing with children and different kinds of kids requires so many different strategies, different types of strategies, and then something that works on one kid is not going to work on another kid. And some kids are going to require that you approach it in a less threatening way, where you're not just being like, yeah, screw all that stupid crap that you're into, and also you gotta understand some kids are older. Some kids are gonna be, especially kids who are 16, 17 years old, who are coming up to being 18, well, they'll be able to if they just hold out long enough, they'll be able to make these decisions on their own. Those parents have to be especially cautious about how aggressively they come on. So I understand why coming from a kind of a neutral, moderate position is really important. And I want to hear from you guys. You know, there's different layers to this, and I think that I just think like the local parent to parent groups is a great, really important way to empower parents to take control back. So like I said, you are so. Dragon Kittigan says F you, Sean. Come on, guys. I'm really trying to keep this professional. F you, Sean. The effing trans ideology did more damage to me than it ever did to you. I do effing care about kids. Oh, no, okay. Sorry. I didn't know it was going to be like all sad and deep. That's why I speak out and change my tone depending on who I'm talking to. So, but good for you, Dragon Kittigan. And listen, anybody, the detransitioners in this group have every right to be as angry and as critical, and especially people like Dragon Kittigan who you were on testosterone for almost 10 years or something like that, and your body has been affected, your mental health, your life. So you guys gotta understand, people have a right to be critical, people have a right to be upset, people have a right to want to know what's going on, what sort of messages are being reproliferated. So Sean Thomas said, I get enough abuse from the school, the medics, and two goofy liberal trans apologists without going public. And I certainly don't want to be abused like you have done to Stella and GENSPECT. How? Have I abused anybody who was on here? Did I abuse Terry? Can anyone tell me, did I abuse Terry, who was on here, one of the first people on here who spoke out and supported GENSPECT? Have I? Let me know. Let me know. First of all, I've never spoken to Stella ever in my life, so I don't know how I'm abusing her. I don't know anything that I said that was out of pocket. Alex spoke about her personal experience with Stella. So what are you talking about? Abuse is what they're saying and promoting. Yeah, listen. Like I said, I'm open. I want to hear. I'm open to hearing stuff. I won't say a word. I'll mute my thing. I won't say anything. But if you guys aren't going to interact with me, then like the only side I'm hearing is people who have grievances with this organization. I don't know anything about GENSPECT. I don't have a gender confused child. I don't work with them. I don't know any of these people. The only interactions I've had with any of these people have been a few run-ins on like Getter. You know what I'm saying? And even then, like, not really. So I'm trying to learn and educate myself. These are complex issues. If you don't want to talk to me, that's fine. But no, saying that I'm like abusing Stella, I haven't said anything specifically about Stella because I have nothing to say. I don't know about her work. I tried to do some research on her beforehand just to have like more of a sense of what it is that she does before I did this stream. And, I learned a little bit about her backstory and just her takes on things. But, that was it. There was nothing that stood out crazy to me. What Poonam brought up about, just the affiliations, I think is a valid criticism. It's a valid criticism, and it's one that is echoed by quite a few people. And I think it's important to take a look at how we're reforming these organizations. Sean said, Ella, anthropophobia. I can see that my child is not important to you either. Sean, that is not true. Listen, my heart breaks for parents that are going through this, and I know you guys are in the most fucked position. And listen, and Sean, don't get me wrong, I understand why you're mad. You have every right to be mad. I would be mad. I would be fucking mad at everybody. So you can be mad, and I understand. That's why, and I started to realize that when I was reading Mom's Net, and I was reading from a lot of parents of GENSPECT who feel like they don't want to have this taken away from them, because if this organization is taken from them, then all that's left is the affirmative care models. And then they're back to being, scolded and berated and gagged and you know, pushed back into having to chant affirmations and having to, you know, go along with mutilating their child and losing their child. And I get that. This whole thing sucks. It sucks where we are, you know. And I can only speak for myself, but I have no ulterior motive to be doing this. I do care about parents. I care about mothers. I care about fathers. I think one of the most important things in the world to me is to see autonomy restored to the family, to see parents re-empowered to make decisions for their kids, that families now, you know, get back in the driver's seat, and then we restore families and we restore their power and we re-empower parents. And I think that that's what's really going to change the tide, is once parents start feeling, you know, when we stop trying to tell parents what to do and how to do it, and what decisions to make, you know. And I hate seeing you guys caught in the middle of this. I don't, you know, at the end of the day, and I've said this before, you know, rhetoric means nothing. All this fighting about technical stuff and this and that, whatever, on a higher level means nothing if parents are still left without a life vest. You know, they're still left without a raft, without anything. Sean says, VFI, do run anything? Do you even have a job? Oh, God. All right, guys. Tired. Guys, please, let's not get into that. Don't say, do you abuse your kids? Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Oh, Sean has repeatedly asked women to reveal personal information to the chat. Oh, I think, okay, God. I see. Oh, God, you guys, I'm so tired. My body's about to, like, give out. All right, guys, this has been, like, the longest stream of all time. Let's end it. We can continue this another time. Thank you to everybody who contributed. Thank you to the people who donated. Thank you, everybody who called in. I don't want this to be a one-sided thing. I do understand. Let's just keep having this conversation. We've got to just take the vitriol out. We've got to just try to take the bite out of stuff. We can have, you know, we can have lively debates without just tearing each other apart, okay? Let's have a little more compassion. Let's all be just a little more. Let's just hear. You know what we need right now? I'm just gonna, where is it? I'm gonna sage all of us so we can just sage the chat. Okay, let's get all the negativity. Let's all breathe. Let's just be in our bodies. As long as we're alive and our families are alive, we still have a chance to fight another day, to do a better job, and to fix this. You know, children are worth saving. Family, I'm going to sage all of you guys. The family is worth restoring. Oh my God. This is hard, guys, and I think it's okay for us to step back and say, guys, this is really hard. It's just a hard fucking, this is why we, you know, it's a monster. It's why we just have to, you know, really, really stay vigilant. We've got to really stay vigilant. So thank you so much, guys. For anybody, you know, BF555, thank you for staying in this whole time and moderating. And anybody else who was here the whole time, God bless you. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. I'm going to go die for a while. I'm like so tired.